Chapter 880. 3 days later, the exhaustion and tiredness of the 9 domains world from the hard battle had disappeared, and the saints had recovered to their peak state. Search for rotten book handle, and read new chapters. Haha, this battle was very comfortable. We almost cut the netherworld realm's strength in half, and we only suffered a little loss. Sky Underworld Saint was very happy. Night Sorrow, this should be considered a loss-free battle. We should be happy. You just need to study how to fight. All of us are prepared to die in battle, xianxia said. The battle has reached this stage. In fact, we already have the ability to control the situation. They are relying on nothing more than being unafraid of death and daring to fight. Night Sorrow said. They shouldn't scare us by saying that they are unafraid of death. It's not like we have never seen life and death. Black Dragon Saint said. Everyone is right to think so, but from my point of view, you are all my seniors. I don't want any losses. The great massacre of the profound heaven world is the time for us to truly fight. Now is the time for us to train our troops. Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Soldiers and commanders naturally had different thoughts and actions. What they had to do was to carry out orders. On the 6th day after the battle, Taishu Yen came to Night Sorrow's tent. Commander, our 2 teleportation arrays have been destroyed. This is within my expectations. If they still can't analyze that we have teleportation arrays in their world under such circumstances, then they are idiots. Night Sorrow said. Then we can't use some of our tactics. Xuanhuan, who had followed Taishu Yen into the tent, said. Some methods can only be used occasionally. They can't be used continuously. The purpose of the 2 teleportation arrays has been achieved. They think that we can't continue to set up the battle because we don't have teleportation arrays. It's not about the gains and losses of one place. Night Sorrow said as he made tea for the 2. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xuanhuan and Taishu Yen nodded. They knew that Night Sorrow had the ability to do so. Next, Night Sorrow walked around the Grand Heavenly Cycle Array and looked at the other party's camp. Even though they'd suffered heavy injuries a few times, the army of the Netherworld was still in order, and there wasn't any disturbance. Night Sorrow really admired Yama King Nine Yin's commanding ability. At the same time, Night Sorrow also found out that Jianghu was in a tent right beside Yama King Nine Yin's tent. When Night Sorrow returned to the command tent, he reported the situation. That's because the Nine Yin Dark King brought Jianghu with him last time. That copper bell of the Nine Yin Dark King might also be a spatial saint treasure. Long Xianxia said. We have 4 pinnacle saints on our side. What are our chances of winning against their 3 pinnacle saints? Night Sorrow asked. I can fight the 9 Yin Underworld King to a standstill. Long Xianxia said. I can suppress the 7 Fiends King. Xianhuan made his stance clear. I can stop 6 Soul King, but I can't suppress him, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. What about Heavenly Underworld Saint and Senior Shangluo working together to deal with 6 Soul King? Night Sorrow asked. But if that's the case, we won't have any advantage against high-level saints, and we'll be at a disadvantage against mid-level saints, said xianxia. Night Sorrow thought about it. Right now, he wanted to whittle down the enemy's strength without suffering any losses. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that it wasn't enough. He still needed to think about it. Then let me think about it. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow continued to think about battle strategies as he cultivated. In the end, Night Sorrow felt that they could wait. When the Netherworld army charged, the formation he had set up would have a miraculous effect. By relying on the formation to whittle down the enemy's strength, it would be a battle without losses. The 9 Realms World's camp was very stable. It could be said that after 2 battles, the crisis of the 9 Realms World had been resolved. Night Sorrow cultivated every day. His true chi was becoming more and more stable, and his strength was rapidly increasing. After Night Sorrow finished cultivating and made tea, Taishu Yen, Yun Tianlong, and Xuanhuan came to Night Sorrow's tent. What's the matter? Asked Night Sorrow as he poured tea for the 3 of them. Nothing. It's just that we're letting them stay outside so comfortably. We should think of a way to deal with them, said Xuanhuan. In this situation, are we the ones who are anxious, or are they? The world behind us is as stable as Mount Tai, and they're worried that we'll attack at any time. If my calculations aren't wrong, they'll be very busy trying to break our grand cycle formation. It won't be long before they can break it, said Night Sorrow. Then you can activate the dark formation in the grand cycle formation to trick them. Xuanhuan understood Night Sorrow's meaning. It's rare for you to understand. If we trick them again, then our 2 realms' strength will surpass theirs. When that time comes, we'll be able to win, said Night Sorrow with a smile. I told you not to be anxious. The commander knows what he's doing, but you two just had to ask, said Taishu Yen as she looked at Yun Tianlong and Jun Xuanji. Yun Tianlong smiled embarrassedly. It's mainly because everyone's hands are itching. We're not rushing you. We can wait. Everyone needs to work hard to raise their cultivation bases. In terms of resources, martial uncles and city lords will have to pay more attention. In addition, the formation masters stationed in the formation have to be vigilant. Don't make any mistakes. That's very important, said Night Sorrow. Soon after, Taishu Yen and the other two left. Night Sorrow didn't care about the current stalemate. The Netherworld realm wouldn't be willing to be in such a passive situation. It was only a matter of time before they broke the formation. When that time came, as long as they could eliminate a bit of the Netherworld realm's strength, the following battle would be easy. In addition, Night Sorrow was currently raising his strength. Night Sorrow had refined the multicolored light he obtained after the lightning tribulation. However, he couldn't control the golden light. The golden light reached the periphery of Night Sorrow's spirit sea and formed a golden halo. In the quiet days, Night Sorrow continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of the power of desolates. He was building a foundation for his body to enter the golden body realm. After half a month, Night Sorrow felt that the reincarnation spear had undergone some changes after being nourished by the law of nothingness. It was as if it had become a part of his body. Knowing that weapons could be upgraded as they were nourished, Night Sorrow would deliberately nourish it with his law of nothingness and spiritual strength every time he cultivated. There were very few saint-level weapons. There was still a difference between obtaining a saint-level weapon left behind by a predecessor and nurturing one's own saint-level weapon. If one kept using it, the nurtured weapon could be called a life weapon. After cultivating steadily for a month, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome had reached the peak of the spirit refinement realm. Night Sorrow also planned to make a breakthrough. Once his body cultivated to the 7th level, his defense would reach an unimaginable level. Seeking strength pills are equivalent to 1,000 devil fruits. If I don't have 10 updates today, my bad temper will come out. It's 4 a.m. now. After writing the second update, I won't sleep anymore. I'll continue to do Myriad Tao Ascension. Chapter 881. After patrolling the area and informing the others, Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began his closed-door training. He searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. The Myriad Tao Tome's spirit refinement realm was mainly to strengthen the soul in preparation for entering the 7th level. This was because the golden body realm required the power of laws and soul force to strengthen the body again. Could be said that the body had to be turned into energy. Blood was energy, tendons were energy, bones and skin were all energy. Any damage to the body could be directly repaired with energy. The golden body realm was the beginning of the Myriad Tao Tome's golden body realm. As long as one cultivated the golden body realm, it would be very difficult for weapons to damage the body. Only energy attacks could damage the body from the inside. Night Sorrow's soul force and power of laws were cultivated to a certain level. Now that his energy cultivation had reached a bottleneck and was stable enough, he could naturally advance. After stabilizing his emotions and consuming 2 drops of life spirit liquid, Night Sorrow began his advancement journey. First, his soul force and desolation's law fused. Next, it fused with the Myriad Tao Tome's energy. Next, he began to strengthen the various parts of his body, turning it into energy. This was another extremely painful process. With his body's ability to endure pain from the past, Night Sorrow could still endure it. The fusion of desolation's law, soul force, and Myriad Tao Tome's energy was extremely tyrannical. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's body had been strengthened and nourished by Xuexi's help. It was strong and tough enough to not break through and damage him. Hands, arms, legs, waist, abdomen, neck, head. Night Sorrow strengthened the various parts of his body. This pain exceeded all the previous body strengthening. It could be said that the body's original structure was broken and reassembled, advancing towards the most perfect state. This pain was simply indescribable. It wasn't as painful as peeling off the skin and breaking the bones. Night Sorrow's face was dripping with sweat. His body was almost soaked in sweat. The muscles on his face were moving rhythmically uncontrollably. Night Sorrow gritted his teeth and persevered. He knew that he couldn't give up. He had suffered so much in the cultivation of the 10,000 Tao Tome and he didn't care about this time. As long as he persevered, he would win. Night Sorrow used 3 days to strengthen every part of his body. Next, he strengthened his internal organs. The pain that came from within his body was even more unbearable. It felt as if 100 ants were gnawing at his heart. Night Sorrow clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands throbbing. It took him 2 days to complete the strengthening of his internal organs. After strengthening his internal organs, a tyrannical energy began to circulate within Night Sorrow's body. Success. Golden body state. Night Sorrow knew that his body had reached a perfect state. His entire body had been transformed into energy. His blood was energy and so were his bones. Just as Night Sorrow was about to cultivate the outer chapter, Shao Kong communicated with Night Sorrow and said that the tribulation clouds had appeared. Night Sorrow had already expected the lightning tribulation to appear. This was because when he cultivated the 10,000 Dao Tome to the 6th stage of the spirit refinement state, the lightning tribulation would appear. Now that he had entered the 7th stage of the golden body state, it would be strange if the lightning tribulation didn't appear. Night Sorrow entered the pool and washed himself. Then he changed into a robe and rushed out of the spacetime pagoda towards the Supreme River dimension. This time was tight. Night Sorrow didn't have time to bring the others through the formation. He went to the Supreme River dimension to accept the lightning tribulation. When Night Sorrow's true energy reached the Sage Realm, his strength was much weaker than it was now. Now that he had true energy cultivation of the Sage Realm, it was much easier to resist the lightning tribulation. After using his bloodline innate ability, Spatial Rend, and true energy to resist the 3rd lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow began to use his body to resist the 4th lightning tribulation. Before his body reached the golden body state, Night Sorrow had tried to use lightning to refine his body. Now that his body had reached the 7th stage of the golden body state, it was no problem at all. After enduring 2 lightning tribulations, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Passing the lightning tribulation was equivalent to passing the heavenly Tao's test. Naturally there would be rewards. Night Sorrow received all of them and then stabilized his cultivation. At this time, Night Moon's sovereigns formed a protective circle, not allowing anyone to come close. With the unstable Jianghu family in the 9 regions world, Night Moon's people naturally wouldn't allow anyone to disturb Night Sorrow when he needed some peace and quiet. Region Lord Wu, what's going on with the Lord Commander? Xuanhuan asked Wu Lingfei. He didn't understand what was going on. There's no harm in talking about it. Night Sorrow doesn't just cultivate true energy, he also cultivates his body. Previously, he reached the 7th stage of the Saint Realm through true energy. Now, his body might have also broken through, said Wu Lingfei as she glanced at Xuanhuan and Ren Tianji. Wu Lingfei wasn't afraid that Xuanhuan and Ren Tianji would know this. Night Sorrow was surpassing his previous opponents step by step. When I fought him, he had just reached the 9th stage of the Saint Realm. His body hadn't reached this level yet. Even if I attacked him, it wasn't impossible for me to break through his defense. Now that his body has reached the 7th stage, there's no need to talk about it, said Ren Tianji. Xuanhuan nodded. She had a strong personality and didn't like to admit defeat. But facing Night Sorrow, she had no choice but to admit defeat. No matter what, she knew that there was a huge gap between them. After cultivating for 3 days, Night Sorrow stood up and clenched his fists. Then an explosive sound rang out. Night Moon's people all retreated a few steps because the pressure was too great. Night Sorrow's current aura was like a small sun. His blood energy filled the air, and his essence chi soared into the sky. Night Sorrow's blood energy was like a landslide or a tsunami. In truth, the energy contained within his body had already far surpassed the power of a landslide or a tsunami. But this was a pirated version. Yishan waved his hand and punched the air. When he punched out, the area in front of his fist was filled with images of flowing time. Space also appeared in front of his fist. Very good. Thank you, great uncles. Thank you, mother. Night Sorrow cupped his hands toward Night God Thunder and the others before nodding to Yu Qin. Haha, the feeling of breaking through is very good, laughed Night God Thunder. Very good, Yishan said with a smile. Alright, you can go do what you need to do. There are many people in the formation who want to know about you. If you have time, come find me for a drink. Night God Thunder nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to Night Moon once more and brought Yu Qin into the formation. After entering the 1000 derivation killing formation and passing through the spatial channel, Night Sorrow saw Yi Linghuan, Yi Wuyo, Wu Lingfei, and the others. Your blood energy is like a tsunami. It's already a miracle that your body could reach this level. Even demon beasts and spirit beasts are far inferior to you, said Long Xianxing. Senior Long Xianxing, you praise me too much. Night Sorrow still has a long way to go, said Night Sorrow. You're definitely the first person in the history of the 9 regions world to cultivate your body to the 7th rank. You can even ignore normal attacks, said Sky Underworld Saint. Even a saint would feel the pressure from Yi Shang's surging qi and blood. 9 Underworld King stood in the command tent and looked toward the spatial channel. He then closed his eyes and pondered. Click, Myriad Dao becomes God, to read for free. Chapter 882. Nether King 9 There's a spiritual chi signal over there. What's going on? The 7 Fiends King arrived at the Nether King 9 Yin's tent. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Someone, or perhaps some demonic beast, has cultivated their body to a certain level. But I don't know who it is, said the Nether King 9 I really didn't think there would be someone who could cultivate to such a level. Nether King 9 if we don't break this formation we can only passively take a beating. This isn't a problem, said the 7 Fiends King. He was the second king of the Netherworld. In 2 more days I will be able to break this grand cosmic formation. When the time comes the battle will begin. Also, gather all the troops that you can, Hades King 9 said to King 7 Fiends. The 7 Fiends King nodded and went to make the arrangements. Night Sorrow took a bath and returned to his tent. He was in a great mood. Both his true chi and the Myriad Dao scripture had reached the 7th rank. He was confident he could even kill a 3-star saint now. Shueshi, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei and Alwei were all happy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's parents and Wu Lingfei also came to Night Sorrow's tent. Everyone's here. Night Sorrow got up to brew some tea, but Sikong Chuyu took the tea set away. Now that your strength has increased, Mother will be much more at ease. Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow. Read novels. I'll continue to work hard on my cultivation. I'll bring my sister and dad out for some fresh air, said Night Sorrow. He roused Yin Yanxiao and Yi Gu from their cultivation and brought them out. Brother, are you trying to suffocate me? Fortunately, the spiritual chi there is very dense and the cultivation effect is very strong. Yin Yanxiao sat down next to Night Sorrow. Haha, I'll be more careful in the future. Later, I'll send you to our Night Moon Dynasty's camp. However, the world is chaotic. You should help me take care of old man Gu. Night Sorrow rubbed Yin Yanxiao's head. Yes, I will. Don't worry, big brother. Yin Yanxiao nodded. Night Sorrow, why did you bring father here? Old man Gu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow didn't hide the truth from Jiyu's family, and told him about how Jiyu's family betrayed the 9 regions world. Mr. Gu nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow was worried about his safety. He didn't want to drag Night Sorrow down. Nianxiao, you have to congratulate your brother. Your brother has broken through to the Saint stage. He's the youngest Saint stage in the 9 domains world and the youngest Saint stage in history, Yu Qing said to her daughter. Brother Saint, you're the best. After being stunned for a moment, Yin Yin grabbed Night Sorrow's arm. You'll be able to do the same in the future. Night Sorrow smiled. After drinking tea, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Yi Wuyo's strength was increasing, while Yu Qing was already at the peak of the 8th rank. She needed to stabilize her cultivation base and comprehend law energy. Night Sorrow sent Shueshi and the others into the spacetime pagoda to cultivate. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing often cultivated with Long Xianxing, so it wasn't convenient for them to enter the spacetime pagoda. Next, Night Sorrow sent Old Man Gu and Yin Yanxiao to the Night Moon Dynasty's camp. He told Yi Lingxia and Yi Xinyue to pay attention to their safety. Yi Xinyue and Yi Lingxia both knew that Yi Shang was worried because of Jiyu's betrayal. After saying goodbye to Taishu Yen and the others, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and began to stabilize his cultivation base. Taishu Yen, Yun Tianlong, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji could all understand why Night Sorrow was working so hard. His true chi and body had just advanced, so he definitely needed time to stabilize his cultivation base. Furthermore, Night Sorrow's strength was rapidly increasing. After entering the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow reached the 70th floor. However, Shao Kong told Night Sorrow that he could now enter the 70th floor. Given the strength of Night Sorrow's body, entering the 73rd floor shouldn't be a problem. Night Sorrow nodded and had Shao Kong bring him to the 73rd floor. Shao Kong told Night Sorrow that under normal circumstances, in other words, under normal circumstances, the 73rd floor of the spacetime pagoda would have time acceleration and deceleration by 3 times. The 71st floor had 1 time acceleration, the 72nd floor had 2 times acceleration, and the 73rd floor had 3 times acceleration. Time acceleration meant that 3 days inside the 73rd floor was 1 day outside. If it was deceleration, then 1 day inside the 73rd floor was 3 days outside. What Night Sorrow needed was speed. What he needed was time. When Night Sorrow began to cultivate, he forgot about everything else. There were too many things he needed to do. First, he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. Second, he needed to refine the multicolored light he had obtained after passing the lightning tribulation. That was a reward from the heavenly Daos. It was an all-purpose energy that was extremely rare. Furthermore, Night Sorrow didn't know what was going on with the 2 golden lights he had obtained. Now they had merged into one and were circulating around his spirit sea. This meant that Night Sorrow's soul had an additional layer of protection. Night Sorrow had been cultivating for half a month. Of course, only 5 days had passed in the outside world. Night Sorrow had only come out of the spacetime pagoda because he had sensed that his messaging crystal had cracked. Tai Shu Yin had sent a message to Night Sorrow when she realized that the other party had begun to break the array. Very good. They are finally going to move. Let's see who is better, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow said as he entered the array formation to watch Dark Monarch 9 break the array. Dark Monarch 9 led some of the Netherworld Realm's saints to figure out how to break the array. Night Sorrow kept throwing spirit stones into the array formation as he watched Dark Monarch 9 break the array. He was controlling the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. If Night Sorrow didn't interfere, the 1000 Development Illusionary Array would be activated. At this time, only Dark Monarch 9 had entered the area of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. The other saints had yet to enter. Dark Monarch 9 had studied the Heavenly Cycle Array for a very long time and had thoroughly studied it. The speed of breaking the array formation was still very fast. As Dark Monarch 9 advanced, the other saints, including 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King, followed by her side to protect her. At this time, Dark Monarch 9's mind was focused on breaking the array. 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King were worried that she would be ambushed. This effect was what Night Sorrow wanted. He wanted to trap more experts from the Netherworld realm. Only then would he be able to produce results. When Dark Monarch 9 led 7 Fiends King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints into the area of the array formation, Night Sorrow shook his hands and threw spirit stones into the ground to activate the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. Following the activation of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array, the area of the array formation broken by Dark Monarch 9 was filled with white fog. Energy rose from the ground and surrounded the people from the Netherworld realm. Not good. Retreat. Dark Monarch 9 realized that something was wrong. She pulled out the scimitar at her waist and swung it, creating a crack in the energy that had just filled the air. Then she led 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King out of the array formation. How could Night Sorrow let them escape? He led Long Xianxia and xuanhuan and blocked the 3 of them. This was the time to consolidate the results of the battle. Download Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 883. With Night Sorrow leading the way, Long Xianxia and xuanhuan naturally had no problem intercepting her. Long Xianxia used the chaotic space to block her attack, while xuanhuan attacked 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King. Search for Rotten Book Handle, and read new chapters. Seeing that someone was intercepting her, Dark Monarch 9's body trembled. A copper bell appeared in front of her and slashed apart her astral saber. The area where the energy had yet to close was locked down. Following that, the death energy spread out in all directions, preventing Long Xuanxing's chaotic space from suppressing her. She then waved her saber rapidly, slashing apart the space in front of her and expanding it. At this time, she understood that she had fallen into another formation. The attack that Dark Monarch 9 was using now was her strongest attack. When Dark Monarch 9 attacked, 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King also attacked. They started attacking Long Xianxia and xuanhuan, giving Dark Monarch 9 space to charge forward. In such a situation, Night Sorrow was naturally unwilling. His body flashed and his reincarnation spear shot towards Dark Monarch 9. Die for this king. Dark Monarch 9 waved her saber and charged towards Night Sorrow. Bang! Following a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was sent flying by Dark Monarch 9's astral saber. At this time, Dark Monarch 9 charged out of the energy gap fixed by the copper bell. Night Sorrow was unable to stop her. The difference between the two of them was simply too great. However, as Dark Monarch 9 charged out, the 1000 Development Illusory Formation closed up, leaving 7 Fiend King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints in the formation. Following that, Night Sorrow threw spirit stones into the ground. He wanted to complete the Great Cycle Formation. This way it would be equivalent to 2 formations operating at the same time. Even if Dark Monarch 9 could break the Great Cycle Formation, she wouldn't be able to do it. At this time, the Great Cycle Formation wasn't operating on its own. If she didn't break the 1000 Development Illusory Formation, she wouldn't be able to break the Great Cycle Formation. Night Sorrow found Long Xianxia and xuanhuan and told them not to fight, but to use the formation to trap and attack the enemies for a while. The Thousand Derivation Illusory Formation could only trap people, but the Heavenly Cycle Grand Formation was extremely powerful. Dark King Nine, what do you think of this move of mine? Do you think you can break our formation so easily? In terms of strategy, you are far from it. Jiuhao, come back quickly. Knight Sorrow stood in the formation and yelled at Dark King Nine, who was madly attacking the formation. Nine Dark King turned around, flashed across the air and showed up in front of Jiuhao's tent. He threw a palm strike with his left hand and shattered the tent. The great Tao of Death suppressed Jiuhao directly. Listen to me. If I had been sent by the Nine Regions world, they would have protected me. How could this have happened? Jiuhao hurriedly shouted. Dark King Nine grabbed Jiuhao's robes with his left hand and swung his saber with his right hand, slapping Jiuhao's face until it looked like a pig's head. Regardless of whether Jiuhao had been sent by the Nine Regions world, it was a fact that the Netherworld realm had been tricked. Dark King Nine was furious. How about a high-level saint in exchange for him? Knight Sorrow stood at the edge of the formation and asked, "Are you serious?" Dark King Nine looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. "No, they want to kill me," Jiuhao said anxiously. As soon as he opened his mouth to speak, the teeth that had been broken by Dark King Nine fell to the ground. Jiuhao, we don't need to act right now. There's no need to do this with them. A high-level saint in exchange for your safety is worth Dark King Nine. I, Knight Sorrow, am a man of my word, Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow had made up his mind to properly screw over Jiuhao. If he negotiated like this, no matter what Dark King Nine decided, Jiuhao would not have a good ending. But a high-level saint is not enough. I want the 7 Fiend King and the 6 Soul King, said Dark King Nine. Sigh, a high-level saint is not enough for a venerable. Forget about the Dark King Nine. Jiuhao, the 9 Regions world will remember you. Knight Sorrow then walked into the formation. Knight Sorrow, I will definitely grind your bones to dust. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Jiuhao was so angry that his eyes turned red. He knew that Knight Sorrow was planning to screw him over. The people of the 9 Regions world will remember what you did. You were the one who negotiated with them to let them choose high-level saints. I can be the one to use a high-level saint in exchange for you. But you should also know that Dark King Nine is the one who exchanged for you. In other words, it was worth it for you to sacrifice the big shots of the Nether Realm. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he entered the array and took a look at the Nether Realm saints who were being attacked by the cosmic array. Let's go back and have a cup of tea first, then come back to clean up the spoils of war. At this time, the people of the 9 Regions camp did not dare to move. Only Knight Sorrow could enter and leave freely. The confrontation this time was really beautiful. Tai Xian ordered people to serve everyone a jar of wine. Knight Sorrow, Jiuhao's life is not going to be easy now. Your conversation just now firmly put the blame on his head. Xialanjun said with a smile. She really did not expect Knight Sorrow to have such ability. With just a few words he had put Jiuhao in danger. A high-level saint in exchange for him, we will do it. A high-level saint cannot change the situation of the war. But Jiu's family is a huge hidden danger to our 2 worlds. Because I really want to exchange, Dark King Nine does not doubt the authenticity of my words. Knight Sorrow said. That's right. If it's a high-level saint in exchange, we will do it. But Dark King Nine is not worth it. He can change the situation of the war. You have made a good decision. Long Xianxing said to Knight Sorrow. In an hour we'll go and harvest the spoils of war. In an hour, they'll have expended quite a bit of energy under the attacks of the Great Cosmic Formation. We'll start killing low-level saints and kill high-level saints. By then the high-level saints will be expended. Knight Sorrow said as he drank his tea. The others nodded. Now, in the formation, only Knight Sorrow could come and go as he pleased. The others could not. Then Knight Sorrow told them how to deal with the situation. He would enter the formation and change the energy of the formation. He would create a small passage and pull out the Nether Realm saints one by one to kill. Knight Sorrow's method was approved by everyone. They were not as worried about Knight Sorrow's safety as before. After all, Knight Sorrow was also an expert. After chatting for a while, Knight Sorrow began to take action. He controlled the formation from afar and let the Nether Realm saints feel that there was a way out. Naturally, they would rush out of the formation and come to the 9 Regions world side. Even more. Peak saints killing low-level and mid-level saints was like child's play. Not to mention when everyone attacked together, the Nether Realm saints were still in an exhausted state. After a while, 5 or 6 low-level saints were killed. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow took the crystal cores of the Nether Realm's saints and passed through the formation to throw their corpses to the Nether Realm's side. Dark King Nine, you still have time to consider. If you are willing to exchange, call me. I really don't want the people of the 9 regions world to be injured. Night Sorrow shouted at Dark King Nine Yin's command tent. Night Sorrow, I will definitely kill you. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Jianghu, who was being beaten up by Dark King Nine Yin in the command tent, shouted hysterically. Jianghu was in a miserable state now. He was almost deformed by Dark King Nine Yin. Download God Ascension through Myriad DAO for free. Chapter 884. After that, Night Sorrow returned to the array and began to lead the mid-level saints to kill. Search for Rotten Book Handle, and read new chapters. The Nether Realm saints who had been tortured by the Great Cycle array were like lambs. One by one they were led out of the array by Night Sorrow and killed by the 9 regions saints. Night Sorrow, your array is too powerful. Actually, even if we don't do anything, the array can kill people. Xianxia said. The 1000 derivation illusion array will confuse the soul and give them the most realistic feeling. For example, they will think that they can charge out if they fight in one direction, but in reality they will just go in circles. Night Sorrow said. Everyone knew that this was the power of an array master. If they were ambushed by an array, they would die if they couldn't break it. After all the mid-level saints were killed, Night Sorrow threw the storage rings and sank crystals to Taishu Yen and Lu Qin. He wouldn't take any of the resources. We have abundant resources now. Some time ago, Senior Long Shenxing and Senior Xianxia brought back a lot of resources. Taishu Yen said with a smile. Now, both realms need to develop, especially the Profound Mysteries realm. We should focus on the resources. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's decision was supported by everyone. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world didn't have any objections. One had to know that the Profound Mysteries realm had really contributed in this war. It could be said that without the Profound Mysteries realm, the 9 regions world wouldn't have been able to achieve this. The people of the Profound Mysteries realm all bowed to Night Sorrow because of Night Sorrow's generosity. After that, Night Sorrow threw all the mid-level saints' corpses to the Nether realm. 9 Dark King, I'll ask you one more time. If you don't, the next batch will be high-level saints' corpses. At that time, you won't be able to trade even if you want to. Night Sorrow said. This king will tell you one thing. As long as this king doesn't die, the Nether realm won't compromise. 9 Dark King dragged Jianghu's deformed body and said. Good. Jianghu, this is the last thing you can do for the 9 realms. Night Sorrow then returned to the formation. He knew that Jianghu would not be able to trade for it. If Jianghu tried his best to explain, he would still be able to live, but he would not be able to gain any status or value. Because of the formation, the Netherworld realm suffered a great loss. Back then, the Netherworld realm saints around Yama King 9 were 1/3 of the total number of Netherworld saints, but they were all killed in the formation. After returning to the array formation, Night Sorrow continued his massacre. 4 hours later, only 7 Evils King and 6 Soul King were left alive in the array formation formed by the combination of 1000 Derivation Grand Array and Heavenly Cycle Grand Array. Night Sorrow first pulled 6 Soul King out of the array. Following that, Long Shenxing used the Chaotic Space Control, and the other 3 Pinnacle Saints worked together to kill the struggling 6 Soul King. At this moment, Dark King 9 was listening to Jianghu's explanation. After some analysis, Dark King 9 understood Jianghu's situation in the 9 regions world. He also knew that Jianghu was not worth exchanging for Dark King 9. At this moment, a crystal in her sleeve shattered. 6 Soul King murmured. Dark King 9's eyes turned red. She knew that 6 Soul King had fallen. However, at this moment, 7 Evils King appeared from the teleportation array. Dark King 9, that clone of mine can't hold on any longer. Even if they don't attack, it won't last for long. Night Sorrow, who had entered the array formation to lure 7 Evils King out, noticed the situation outside the array formation. He could not help but curse inwardly. He knew that the array formation trapped 7 Evils King's clone. After that, Night Sorrow lured 7 Evils King's clone out. As soon as he was lured out, he was about to self-destruct. However, with Long Xuanxing's chaotic space control and Xian Wenxio's defensive Saint Treasure, the 9 regions world camp did not suffer any damage. Night Sorrow also explained 7 Evils King's situation. After learning that they had killed 7 Evils King's soul clone, although they were a little annoyed, they were already very satisfied with such a harvest. These Dark Kings all have clones and their strength is very strong. They are not much different from the main body, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry. This battle has practically crippled the Nether realm. In the following battle we will have an absolute advantage. Haha, if they hadn't fought with us in a mutually destructive manner, we wouldn't have died yet. Xianhuan said happily. Not only Xianhuan was happy, but the others were also very happy. It could be said that the 9 Regions World Camp had won. Novel in the command tent of the Netherworld Camp. Dark King 9, we are now in a passive position. The 2 of us can only hold back their 2 strongest experts. There are still 2 pinnacle saints that we can't fight against. If they rush out, we won't be able to stop them. 7 Evil's king's face was full of worry. Things aren't that bad. This king's clone is about to arrive with the 9 blood guards. Let's see if they can rush out and try. Dark King 9 snorted coldly. While Night Sorrow was patrolling the formation, he sensed another 9 Nether King walking out of the teleportation formation. Nearly 100 Nether race warriors in red armor appeared behind him one after another. These Nether race warriors were different from ordinary Nether race warriors. Their faces were filled with runes as if they were born with them. Night Sorrow watched while thinking. Then he returned to the command tent of the 9 Regions World Camp and reported the situation. This matter is still not easy to handle. The Dark King 9 Yin Soul clone is definitely very strong, said Long Xianxia. Night Sorrow then explained the situation of the blood guards. There are runes on their faces. What kind of runes? Asked Xuanhuan. It seems to be the same as the runes on Heavenly Underworld Saint's arm. But they have a very terrifying aura, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, bring me over to take a look. I hope they aren't cultivating the blood diagram treasured tome, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. Night Sorrow then brought Heavenly Underworld Saint to take a look. The 2 of them then brought back some bad news. Heavenly Underworld Saint's guess had been correct. Darkness Island's inheritance was the Darkness Treasured Tome, and the Blood Diagram Treasured Tome also existed. The Blood Diagram Treasured Tome was used to train Death Warriors. Death Warriors who cultivated the Blood Diagram Treasured Tome were extremely powerful, and they could self-detonate. Because of their special cultivation technique, their self-detonation was several times stronger than others at the same level. This Dark King 9 doesn't have any intention of retreating. He wants to fight to the death with us, said Long Xianxia. They're not easy to deal with. Most of those blood diagram death warriors are high-level and peak venerables. A few of their leaders are saints. If we want to fight, we'll have to pay a huge price. That's not something I want to see, said Night Sorrow. The situation is in our hands now. Commander, take your time to think of a way. We're not in a hurry anyway, said xuanhuan. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this matter needed to be carefully considered. The enemy's death warriors were prepared for battle. Moreover, Dark King 9 had a clone, which was equivalent to having another Peak Saint King. If they wanted to fight, the 9-domain world would have to pay a huge price. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and came up with a feasible plan. They would continue to harass the Netherworld and use this tactic to lower the overall strength of the Netherworld. You can read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 885. Night Sorrow didn't tell anyone. He left the tent and placed a teleportation crystal on the teleportation array. Then he used a spatial crack to enter the chaotic space. Blue. Night Sorrow first investigated the Netherworld camp. He wanted to find a chance to kill Jianghu, but he found that Jianghu was in a tent not far from 9 Nether King. There were saints guarding it, so he couldn't do it. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't stop and flew away. This time he flew hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow tore space and arrived in the real world. After flying for 300,000 miles, Night Sorrow started to set up a teleportation array. After he was done, he inserted a teleportation crystal into the teleportation array and set up an illusion array and a killing array. Night Sorrow set up the teleportation array. After the illusion array and killing array were broken, the teleportation array would be destroyed. There would be no possibility of it being trapped by the enemy. After that, Night Sorrow flew for a while and set up another teleportation array. Then he returned to the teleportation array. Seeing Night Sorrow come out of the teleportation array, Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin and Jun Xuanji who were patrolling the camp were stunned. You went out to set up a teleportation array? Seems like you have another idea, Jun Xuanji said. War requires patience, resources and people's hearts. If we can fight our way in, why not? We want their resources and we want to destroy their stability, Night Sorrow said. This move of yours is enough to make them helpless, Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow smiled. He didn't have any good ideas at the moment, so this was the only thing he could do. Also, he planned to think of a way to solve Jianghu's problem. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about how to solve it, Lin Yuandao appeared. He wanted Night Sorrow to take him through the 1,000 derivation killing array. He sent Lan Yuxuan to inquire about Jiu's family. At this time Lan Yuxuan crushed his messaging crystal. Night Sorrow took Lin Yuandao to see Lan Yuxuan. Lan Yuxuan brought a man. Lord, this is our spy. However, he only knows which island the Central State Mansion is on and where the entrance is. However, he doesn't have the qualifications to enter the Central State Mansion. Lan Yuxuan reported. After that, the spy explained the situation. The Central State Prefecture was surrounded by formations, and it would be very difficult to enter without a map. This informant was a member of Jiu family. His parents were sacrificed in the power struggle of Jiu family. With the secret support of Tianji Tower, he had become one of Jiu family's key disciples. That was why he was brought to the island where Zhongzhou Prefecture was located. However, he was only allowed to stay on the island, and was not qualified to enter Zhongzhou Prefecture. Night Sorrow, I'll take care of this. However, I'll have to bring Black Entropy with me. After all, there's a formation there. Black Entropy is a formation grandmaster. He might need to break the formation, Lin Yuandao said. Bring more people. We have to guard against Jiu Haitian, Night Sorrow said. Then I'll bring Chief Guardian Wuxialover. Lin Yuandao nodded. The Central State Mansion was a big matter. He had to take it seriously. Night Sorrow also sent Guxiao and Black Entropy out of the formation. After sending them out of the space tunnel, he asked them to take care of this matter. After that, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and told Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei Aoi and Shueshi about this matter. This is a good thing. The problem of Jiu family has been solved. Only Jiu Hao is left. He won't be able to cause any trouble, Sikong Chuyu said. I have to find a way to kill Jiu Hao, Night Sorrow said. The problem now is that Jiu Hao is always by Nine Dark Lord's side. We can't do anything to him, Shueshi said. I'll ask Long Xianxing and Saint Xian if they have any good ideas, Night Sorrow said as he walked towards the command tent. Other than guiding Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing in their cultivation, Long Xianxing spent most of his time in the command tent. When Night Sorrow arrived, there were many people in the tent. Then, Night Sorrow told them about his idea of killing Jiu Hao. The problem lies in the fact that the Nine Hell King and her doppelganger are both very strong. If we rush out, she will be on guard. With the addition of the 7 Fiend King, our chances of success are not high. Long Xianxing said. Seniors, this is what I'm thinking. I can use the space crack to directly enter Jiu Hao's tent. After I break the space crack again, any of you can instantly kill him or capture him into the space crack, Night Sorrow said. Okay, we'll do it in the space crack. I'll be responsible for capturing him. Saint Xian will be responsible for blocking the reinforcements. Night Sorrow, you'll be responsible for bringing us there and back, Long Xianxing said. Then it's decided. We'll go now. Night Sorrow did not want Jiu Hao to live at all. The main reason was that Jiu Hao was a big trouble. Reading Novel 3, Night Sorrow tore the space apart and brought Long Xianxing and Shen Wenxiu into the space crack. In the space crack, they shuttled towards the Netherworld's camp. Night Sorrow's soul power passed through the space crack and found the location of Jiu Hao's tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow's bloodline talent burst out and tore the space apart. Then he used his realm to prevent the space crack from closing. Long Xianxing used the space crack to trap Jiu Hao. While killing him, he pulled him into the space crack. It didn't matter if it was killing or pulling as long as he could do one thing. Shen Wenxiu took out his high-grade Saint treasure and started to defend. When 9 Dark King and 7 Fiends King arrived, Jiu Hao was already pulled into the space crack by Long Xianxing. Shen Wenxiu kept his Saint treasure. Then he stretched out his arm and flattened the space crack. It was easy for cultivators to stabilize and flatten the space crack. The difficulty was that they couldn't tear the space apart. After the space was flattened, Night Sorrow brought Long Xianxing and Shen Wenxiu back to the 9 Regions World's camp. Then they tore the space apart and returned to the real world. At this time, Jiu Hao only had half of his life left. Night Sorrow waved his hand and shattered his dantian and legs. He didn't kill him because Night Sorrow was worried that something might happen in the Central State Prefecture. Night Sorrow, you will die a horrible death. Jiu Hao cursed as he lay on the ground. Even if I die a horrible death, I will kill you. Let's see how long you can live. Martial Uncle Granduncle gave him the life spirit liquid. We can't let him die. Wait for the news from Lord Quebec. If we successfully take down the Central State Prefecture, we will kill him. Night Sorrow waved his hand and knocked out Jiu Hao's few teeth, not giving him the chance to bite his tongue and commit suicide. Leave him to me. Before it's time to die, he can't die even if he wants to. Hua Haining directly fed Jiu Hao a pill. Then Jiu Hao stopped moving. What pill is that? Night Sorrow asked. Paralysis pill. Without the antidote he won't be able to move. He won't be able to commit suicide. Wahaining said. Okay, then we will wait for news from Lord Quebec. I will go and remove the formation at the entrance of the space tunnel. Otherwise, it will be inconvenient for our own people to come in and out. However, Martial Uncle Granduncle King Yun, you have to arrange some guards. If they are not absolutely reliable, they cannot come. Night Sorrow felt more at ease. Capturing Jianghu was equivalent to eliminating a hidden danger. At this time, Nine Dark King looked at the space tunnel and narrowed his eyes, thinking. And what about the health benefits? What about the energy pills? 10 times a day? What about the myriad Tao Ascension? Chapter 886. Nine King were too passive. They have spatial cultivators, so we can't defend against them. Search Rotten Book Bar, and read new chapters, said Seven Fiends King. There's still a big problem. If they can teleport here, then they can set up a teleportation formation. Nine King also had a headache because they couldn't defend against them. Nine King, how about this? We'll gather all the nether beasts in the nether realms Beast King Sea. We'll fill the area with nether beasts. As long as they teleport, we'll know. Seven Fiends King spoke his thoughts. You're right. Also, this king is worried that their teleportation formation is here. We have to get rid of it. If they occupy the spatial channel, we'll be too passive in this war. The 5 puppet kings and the 6 soul kings have died. This is directly related to this king's decision. Nine King sighed. After being attacked by the 9 domain world, Nine King was still affected. His aura wasn't as strong as before. Nine King, this has nothing to do with your arrangements. They are too cunning. It can be said that they are more prepared than us. Now, I will go and gather the nether beasts. After Seven Fiends King finished speaking, he left the spatial tunnel to make arrangements. Night Sorrow rested for a day before returning to the command tent. What's the plan? Xianglue asked. It's like this. A while ago, I set up another teleportation array. Now, we can still fight for resources and harass them. We won't let them have a good time, but I'll have to trouble you seniors again, Yishan said. Don't talk about trouble. If you have an order, just give it. You're the commander and we're just following orders, said Long Xianxing. Let's do it the same way as last time. We'll split into 2 groups. Just like last time, we'll keep an eye on Hades 9 Yin's main body and clone. It doesn't matter if one of them goes missing, but if both of them go missing at the same time, we'll crush the messaging crystal and the 2 groups will retreat. When they return, we'll continue to kill. They won't be able to attend to one and lose sight of the other, Yisaro said. This method is really useful. No matter how many times we use it, it's almost unbreakable, said Xialanjun. Our safety is much lower this time. After all, the only one who can threaten our 2 teams is the King of Nine, and she can't split herself, Night Sorrow said. Soon after, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu led their men and left. Yilinghuan and Yi Wuyo also followed them. Night Sorrow then arranged for Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin, Jun Xuanji and Xueshi to enter the array formation. The 4 of them could take turns to observe the situation on the other side. Xueshi could communicate with him if something happened. Now, it was very difficult to enter the array formation to monitor the situation. In the past, when there was only one heavenly cycle array, Black Shang could still bring the array formation masters to patrol the area. Now that the 2 composite arrays were combined, other than Night Sorrow, no one else could enter because it was too complicated. After making the necessary arrangements, Night Sorrow entered the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began cultivating. The Pagoda of Time and Space could assist Night Sorrow in his cultivation of true energy and soul strength. The Pagoda of Time and Space could also assist him in the cultivation of his innate bloodline power. The only thing he lacked was the energy he could use to cultivate his body. The Spacetime Pagoda could provide the power of time, but it could only increase his body's attribute power. As for the increase in energy, Little Kong could not help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's body had reached the golden body realm. Ordinary resources were useless. Night Sorrow did not have the time to find the blood essence of the 4-clawed silver dragon. Currently he could only use the life spirit fluid. Fortunately, he had obtained the life spirit fluid twice, so he had a lot of it. Night Sorrow cultivated and so did the others. As for the management of the 9 regions world's troops, Yun Tianlong was in charge. In addition, there were other elders from the Commander-in-Chief's residence helping Yun Tianlong. As the days slipped by, Night Sorrow cultivated peacefully. No one disturbed Night Sorrow unless there was a big problem. Even if there was a problem, Yun Tianlong would gather the people from the Commander-in-Chief's residence to discuss it. They would not disturb Night Sorrow's cultivation. Peeing in the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had been cultivating for 1.5 months. His true energy cultivation and the myriad Daosh treasured tomes cultivation had improved greatly. However, he heard Little Kong's call. The space-time pagoda stood beside the spatial tunnel. If someone shouted, Night Sorrow would know. Perhaps Night Sorrow, who was in a meditative state, would not hear it. However, the space-time pagoda had an item spirit. Little Kong would notify Night Sorrow. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow saw Lin Yuandao. Lin Yuandao had returned with Guoxiao and Lan Yuxuan. How was it? Night Sorrow asked. The hidden danger of the Jiyu family was completely dealt with. I also killed Sumu. He is not even a venerable now. There is no need for you to kill him personally, Lin Yuandao said. Sumu was not qualified to be Night Sorrow's opponent. Therefore he had killed him directly. There is no need to pay attention to him. Taking down the central province prefecture has given us a place to retreat. This is a good thing. There is no need for Jiyu Hao to stay, Night Sorrow said. Hua Haining, who had come to greet Lin Yuandao after knowing that he had returned, turned and left. Night Sorrow did not need to say anything. Everyone knew what to do. Next, Night Sorrow went to the formation and met with Taishu Yen, Lu Qin, Jun Xuanji and Xueji. That 9E Nether Monarch is restless. However, she did not leave. She should know that we attacked the Nether Realm. She might be waiting for something, Xueshi said. 7 Fiends Monarch is not here. She really does not dare to leave. She knows that as soon as she leaves, we will attack this place. She knows very well how heavy their losses were last time. Therefore, she cannot bear it anymore, Night Sorrow said. But she can't just watch our 2 teams destroy this place, Jun Xuanji said. No one will just watch. Therefore there must be a plan. We just need to force them to use their trump cards. When they lose their trump cards, all they can do is take a beating, Night Sorrow said. Then if you were them, what would you do? Jun Xuanji asked. There is no good way. At most, we would send out demonic beasts and low-level cultivators to sweep the teleportation formation. Then we would gather demonic beasts and gather them in the surrounding thousands of li. As long as someone who can use spatial travel appears, we would know immediately. This way we can stabilize the situation. However, it is still a temporary solution, Night Sorrow said. The main reason is that our Lord Commander's first move is very sharp. He has destroyed all their advantages, Taishu Yen said. At present they are powerless to reverse the situation. Of course we don't know if they have any trump cards. However, we do know that as long as we can occupy this spatial passage, we can fight however we want, Night Sorrow said with a smile. That is the truth. Then there is the battle of harassment and the battle of resources. This is the most troublesome part, Jun Xuanji said. Commander, have you thought about the final outcome of the battle? Lu Qin asked. You can read Myriad Dao Becomes a God for free. Chapter 887. Night Sorrow entered the command tent and sat down on the main seat. Blue, 1 transportation formation has been destroyed. That's a big deal. Long Xianxing and Saint Declaring won't be in danger. Xialanjun looked at Night Sorrow and asked. It's not a big problem. Aside from the 9E Nether King and her clone, the others won't be able to threaten the safety of the 2 groups. As for setting up an ambush, my father and grandfather can use space. Ordinary ambushes won't work on them. Night Sorrow said. You're right. However, the number of nether beasts and demon beasts they brought out is truly terrifying. Xialanjun said. Then I'll go kill them. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. How are you going to kill so many? Taishu Yen asked. It's very simple. I'll just use poison. I have some poison water poison smoke refined by Elder Hua. I'll just throw it at the beast. In any case, I have nothing to do right now. Night Sorrow smiled. Then be careful. Lu Qin said worriedly. It's nothing. Also, continue to pay attention to the 9E Nether King. If the last transportation formation is destroyed, just crush my crystal, Night Sorrow said. But if that transportation formation is destroyed, how are you going to come back? Yu Qing asked. It won't be a problem. I have this crystal in my hand. I can set up a transportation formation and come back at any time. Night Sorrow smiled. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others smiled and nodded. In this kind of situation, it would be too difficult for anyone to stop Night Sorrow. Aside from Tianyu, Night Sorrow teleported everyone out of the spatial treasure pagoda. Then he sat on the teleportation array and left the spatial tunnel. After leaving the transportation formation, Night Sorrow began to fly. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, Night Sorrow brought Tianyu out of the pagoda and controlled Tianyu to fly. At the same time he began to throw poison bottles at the demon beasts and nether beasts. After flying alternately with Jianghu for over 10 days, Night Sorrow released all the poison bottles in his hand. Only then did he return to the location where he had set up the transportation formation and teleported back to the spatial channel. On the second day after Night Sorrow returned to the Nether Realm, a new situation appeared. A thick black fog had appeared outside the formation. Night Sorrow and the others were unable to investigate it because the black fog contained a very dense nether energy. It was extremely poisonous and would harm even the soul. Night Sorrow immediately asked Taishu Yen to crush Long Xianxing and Xianhuan's messaging crystal. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about whether Long Xianxing, Xianhuan, and the others would be able to teleport back. This was because they had teleported back and forth twice before the battle. The location of the transportation formation was marked on the map. Even if they were unlucky, they could just go to the second transportation formation after arriving at the first one. The two ambushing teams might not be a match for the 9E Nether King, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to escape. Moreover, the two teams had rich combat experience. When returning to the transportation formation, they would be very careful. The possibility of being ambushed was almost zero. Night Sorrow stood outside the formation and paid attention to it, but he couldn't see anything. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow tore through space and went to the Nether Realm camp to investigate. After entering the chaotic space and passing through the formation, Night Sorrow discovered a problem. The black nether energy was seeping into the chaotic space. With the power of laws protecting his body, Night Sorrow discovered that the power of laws of nothingness was also greatly consumed. After investigating, Night Sorrow also discovered something. There were no people in the original position of the Nether Realm camp. Instead, there were many ancient trees that were emitting a dense black energy. After probing for a bit, Night Sorrow's soul power had been corroded, and he had consumed a great deal of it. Furthermore, Night Sorrow could no longer stay in the chaotic streams of space because the chaotic streams of space also contain this kind of energy. After returning to the 9-domain world camp, Night Sorrow endured the discomfort and inspected the situation of the formation. Fortunately, with the isolation of the Great Cosmic Array, this kind of black nether energy was blocked outside the formation. In other words, the Great Cosmic Array was a safe distance away from the entrance of the spatial passage. I went to investigate. This kind of energy was released by some ancient trees. They have also retreated from this area. Night Sorrow said. Very powerful to be able to obtain such a strange poisonous species. How do we deal with it now? Xianhuan asked. Wait for Long Xianxing and the others to come back. Also, I don't have any more teleportation crystals. Are there teleportation crystals among the battle resources? I will go and bury some now. Otherwise, it will be difficult to pass through their blockade in the future. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Then Taishu Yen handed over 7 or 8 teleportation crystals to Night Sorrow. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow had recently consumed a lot of teleportation crystals. Night Sorrow cut out the main body of the largest teleportation crystal. After making some splits, he arranged a teleportation array. After embedding the main body, he also embedded 7 splits of the teleportation crystals in his hand. Then he nodded to everyone and sat on the first teleportation array to leave the spatial passage. After coming out of the only teleportation array that had not been discovered, Night Sorrow began to fly and began to lay down the groundwork. Every tens of thousands of li or even hundreds of thousands of li, Night Sorrow would set up a teleportation array in a cave, in a pit, inside a towering ancient tree and so on. Moreover, he would insert the splits of the teleportation crystals that he had just set up at the spatial passage. In other words, these teleportation arrays could be activated now. Of course, other than Night Sorrow, no one else would be able to use them because he had arranged 1,000 development illusionary array around the teleportation arrays. It was an array formation that no one else could break except him. Perhaps they could use force to remove it, but the teleportation array would also be destroyed at the same time. After arranging the teleportation crystals in his hand into a teleportation array, Night Sorrow teleported back to the spatial passage. City Lord Taishu, send someone to guard it. The 7 teleportation crystals above are all lit up, which means that all 7 teleportation arrays can be used. If there is an extinguished one, tell me. If they have the ability, they can dismantle all 7 of them. Night Sorrow said to Taishu Yen, who had walked over. Taishu Yen nodded and arranged for someone to guard the teleportation array. Entering the tent, Night Sorrow noticed that Long Xianxing and the others still hadn't returned. He was a bit worried because it had been a while since the news had been sent. Furthermore, spatial travel was no longer as smooth as before. That black netherworld chi had even seeped into the spatial barrier. Even if Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan were to break through space, it would be extremely difficult for them to travel through it. Just as Night Sorrow was considering whether or not he should go out to help, Long Xianxing and the others returned. It was the two groups that had returned together. What's going on? That 9E Nether King isn't here. Then let's kill our way over, said Long Xianxing. Night Sorrow shook his head. Right now, the most important thing was how to deal with the ancient netherworld tree. After that, Night Sorrow explained the situation to everyone. He told them about the predicament they were in. This move is pretty vicious. It's a double-edged sword. Even their people are afraid. I wonder how they got their hands on it, said Long Xianxing. You can read Myriad Daos Become Gods for free. Chapter 888. Let's stabilize the situation first, then figure out how to break it. Both teams are doing well, said Night Sorrow. Blue Emperor, it's going well. Nether Realm will need a long time to recover, said Long Xianxing. We don't have anything to worry about. Our formation is a natural barrier. They won't be able to break in. In addition, the Great Cosmic Formation has the ability to isolate energy. The Nether Poison Gas won't be able to invade. Night Sorrow was still very confident because he still had the initiative. Nether Realm was still in a defensive state. At this time, the Nether Realm's camp had retreated 100 miles. There was no dark nether gas. Inside the command tent, 9E Dark King was talking to an old man. The old man was wearing a black robe with black tree patterns, but his face was incomparably ruddy. 8th Hell King, isn't your lifespan coming to an end? What's going on? Asked 9E Dark King. After sensing that I didn't have much time left in my lifespan, I went to the underworld tree ocean, intending to leave my body there and reincarnate. However, I didn't expect that I would encounter a special opportunity and fuse with an ancient underworld tree. The fusion was successful not long ago. I didn't expect such a situation to occur in the underworld realm, said the old man who was the 8th Hell King. Then 9E Dark King explained the current predicament. 8th Hell King, if we don't break their formation now, we won't be able to break in, said 9E Dark King. This king brought a lot of netherworld trees. Perhaps it's time for the Medicine Valley to rise, said Long Xianxing. Night Sorrow's rise has brought an opportunity for the Medicine Valley. Moreover, they are a group of people who are eager to improve themselves. The Medicine Valley will become a first-rate force in the 9 regions in the future. It's just a matter of time, said Wu Lingfei. If Wu Lingfei had started to pay attention to the Medicine Valley because of Night Sorrow, then the performance of the Medicine Valley's people had also made her think highly of them. Yes, it can be said that the future of this sect is limitless. Long Xianxing nodded his head. He also hoped to see the rise of the Eastern Profound Domain. Senior Long Xianxing, Night Sorrow wants to set up a cultivator's palace. It's to let the talented children of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries world enter. I want to tell him that this cultivator's palace will be set up in our Eastern Profound Domain. Wu Lingfei said. That's a good idea. However, there will definitely be people who will object to it. You might as well not bring it up and just tell Night Sorrow about it directly. Once he makes the decision, those fellows can only stare at it helplessly. Long Xianxing chuckled. Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded. She understood what Long Xianxing meant. In fact, she also had the same idea. She was just asking for Long Xianxing's opinion. As long as one had foresight, they would understand that this cultivator's palace would definitely be a force that could influence the 9-domain world and the profound mysteries realm in the future. The location of its establishment was very important. If it was established in the Eastern Profound Domain, it would only be beneficial to the Eastern Profound Domain in the future. No matter who suggested it, there would be objections. But since Night Sorrow had spoken, the others could only agree. The first free reading of Myriad Daos Become Gods. Chapter 889. After cultivating in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda for 3 months, Night Sorrow stood up, stretched his neck, and flashed out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Night Sorrow first entered the formation to patrol, then frowned. He discovered that the ancient tree of the netherworld was growing very quickly. Its roots were already extending towards the Great Cycle Formation. After having the patrolling formation masters leave, Night Sorrow waved his hand and threw out spirit stones, activating the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The 1000 Development Illusionary Formation targeted consciousness, thoughts, and souls. As long as one had consciousness or thoughts, they would be affected. Since the ancient tree of the netherworld had already gained sentience, Night Sorrow activated the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The formation didn't only target the ground, but also the air and underground. Otherwise, flying and digging holes could break the formation. The formation wasn't that important and difficult to break. Therefore, if the ancient tree of the netherworld wanted to break the formation by growing underground, it would also be affected by the 1000 development illusionary formation. After coming out of the formation, Night Sorrow didn't go to the command tent because he didn't have any orders to give. Just as Night Sorrow was wondering if he should let Sikong Chuyu and the others out for some fresh air, Wu Lingfei came to Night Sorrow's tent. "Aunt Fei, you're here. Have a seat. I was just about to make some tea." Night Sorrow greeted her with a smile. "The commander personally made tea. Aunt Fei's treatment is quite good." Wu Lingfei smiled and found a place to sit. "Don't mention the commander. Even if I become a sage king or heavenly king, I'll still make tea for you." Night Sorrow said as he made tea. "Aunt Fei likes to hear that. Have some tea first. Aunt Fei will bring you to meet a few people. Also, I have some things to discuss with you." Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't ask what it was. He knew that Wu Lingfei would tell him what she needed to tell him. She had her reasons for not telling him now. After drinking tea, Wu Lingfei brought Night Sorrow to the Eastern Shen region's camp and entered the command tent. Lei Hua and Xuanhuan stood up and bowed. Then they invited Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow to sit inside. After asking around, concubine Wu Lingfei asked Lei Hua to bring the people of Medicine Valley to the main tent. "Someone from the Medicine Valley is here." "That's not right. If I don't go and pick them up, they won't be able to pass through that spatial passageway." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and figured out the problem. Due to the maturation of Dongshuan's origin and the strengthening of Eastern Shen's laws, the supreme river space was suppressed. "That's why they were able to enter," said Wu Lingfei. "Aunt Fei is already a 3-star saint." "Congratulations, Aunt Fei." At this moment, Night Sorrow noticed Wu Lingfei's cultivation. He stood up and cupped his hands towards Wu Lingfei. He also remembered that he hadn't gone to pick up Lin Yuandao and the others a few days ago. Lin Yuandao, Lan Yuxuan and Xia Lanjun had also passed through the spatial channel. "Don't be so courteous. This is what Dongshuan's origin gave me," Wu Lingfei said with a smile. At this time, Lei Hua brought the 3 venerables of the Medicine Valley into the command tent. After Jianghu and the other 2 bowed to Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow also bowed to them. After Wu Lingfei waved her hand, everyone took their seats. "Night Sorrow, you're a saint now?" Jianghu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. "I entered the saint realm some time ago. Because I had many things to do, I didn't have time to report to you, Master," said Night Sorrow. "You have many things to do. You don't have to worry about me. Just go back to the Medicine Valley more often when you have time," said Jianghu with a shake of his head. "Master's kindness is greater than the heavens. This disciple dares not," said Night Sorrow as he stood up and bowed after hearing Jianghu's words. "Night Sorrow, what are you doing? Your path is outside. Don't be hindered by me in the Medicine Valley." Jianghu helped Night Sorrow up and asked Night Sorrow to sit down before he sat down. "The 8-Dragon Cauldron has already informed us of this matter. Our Medicine Valley has also carried out a sacrifice to the heavens and ancestors. You've done well." The first elder nodded at Night Sorrow. "The development of the Medicine Valley is not easy. I used to stay in seclusion in the Ice Snow Mountain all year round and didn't know much about the Medicine Valley. Now that the Medicine Valley has its inheritance, there won't be any problems with its future development. Not to mention anything else, just the reputation of the commander of 2 worlds, Night Sorrow, will attract many talents," said Wu Lingfei with a smile. "It's not that serious," said Night Sorrow with a smile. "It's that serious. Last year, before you became the commander, our Medicine Valley's disciple recruitment ceremony was filled with a sea of people. They all came because of Night Sorrow's name." Hua Yunping nodded seriously. "Night Sorrow, Aunt Fei has something to tell you. It's about the establishment of the Cultivators' Palace." Wu Lingfei said what she had been wanting to say for a long time. "Aunt Fei, you're talking about the establishment of the Cultivators' Palace of 2 worlds with my resources?" asked Night Sorrow. "Yes, Aunt Fei wants to see if the Cultivators' Palace can be established in the Eastern Profound Domain," said Wu Lingfei with a smile. "Of course. Then let's get started a little later. We can directly establish the headquarters in the Eastern Profound Domain. The name Cultivators' Palace is a little bad," said Night Sorrow. After that, everyone discussed and felt that it would be great if the Cultivators' Palace could produce more saints. Thus, they named it the Saint Hall with great expectations. "Then Aunt Fei will arrange it. If anyone from the commander's manor objects, Aunt Fei will say it was your idea," said Wu Lingfei with a smile. "They're not satisfied," said I. "This king has been studying formations recently. His cultivation in formations has already reached the Grandmaster level. Let's study some more formations and see if there's any way to break them, said the 9E Nether King. Everyone, let's think of a way. This king will trap this place to death. Other than that, we have to hurry up with the matter of their transportation formations, said the 8 Hell Kings. Knight Sorrow was calmly cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda. When he had time, he would go and get some essence blood from the 4-clawed silver dragon. He didn't want to use up the life spirit elixir. He wanted to read Myriad Daos Become a God for free. Chapter 890. After cultivating for a month, Knight Sorrow went to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to rest. What are you thinking about? You look like you have a lot on your mind. Xuexi looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. Last time, you said there are 4-clawed silver dragons behind the Silver Demon Villa. How long will it take to get there? Knight Sorrow asked. It's hard to say. You need 4-clawed silver dragons' essence blood, right? I'll go there for you. Xuexi said. That's fine. But just find the dead 4-clawed silver dragons and get some essence blood. There's no need to kill them for what I need. Knight Sorrow said. You're overthinking it. 4-clawed silver dragons love to kill. They're also a race that commits all sorts of evil. They often capture human women. It's a heinous crime. Killing them isn't too much. Xuexi naturally knew what Knight Sorrow was thinking. He just didn't want to kill. Then do as you see fit. Be careful. Knight Sorrow said. Then Knight Sorrow let Xuexi out of the Spacetime Pagoda and asked her to help him. After sending Xuexi off, Knight Sorrow went to check on the formation again. Seeing that it was very stable, he returned to the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, only 2 months had passed in the real world. With the Spacetime Pagoda's 3 times acceleration and enough energy, Knight Sorrow's cultivation rapidly increased. Now he was not far from the peak of the 1-star Saint Realm. With the help of the Myriad Daos Tome and the Life Spirit Liquid, he was also approaching the peak of the 1-star Golden Body Realm. The improvement of his soul power was also very obvious. His Divine Sea, which was originally empty except for the God Orb, was now surrounded by soul power in the form of purple mist. In addition, the 6th bloodline talent under his dragon bones was also becoming more and more loose. He was not far from completely activating it. Knight Sorrow came out of seclusion this time because he felt the vibration of the Snow Dusk God Orb. Outside the Spacetime Pagoda, Knight Sorrow saw Xuexi. How was it? Did it go well? It went smoothly. They were the unlucky ones. I hadn't even reached their territory when they appeared and grabbed me, saying that they wanted to offer me to their king. You know what happened in the end, Xuexi said with a smile. That's good. Thank you for your hard work. I'll go check on the array before heading to the Supreme River Dimension to catch a beast. We'll have some barbecue and some wine, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Knight Sorrow looked inside the array and found that the ancient tree of the Netherworld was growing very quickly. Although it could not invade the array, it had already surrounded the periphery of the array. However, Knight Sorrow did not mind. It would be fine as long as he did not break the array. In addition, Knight Sorrow was also thinking about how to deal with the ancient Netherworld tree. He did not know what the ancient Netherworld tree was afraid of, but it definitely had a weakness. After exiting the array, Knight Sorrow called for his parents. He then brought the Pagoda of Time and Space to the God-slaying team's camp. After transferring Sikong Chuyu and the others out, Knight Sorrow got Tianyu to catch a beast. Then he went to Night Moon Dynasty to bring Papa Gu and xianxia over. It had been a long time since he had eaten barbecue and wine. Knight Sorrow ate very comfortably. After they were done eating, Yi Shang led his men out of the God-slaying team's campsite. Everyone went back to cultivating. Xuexi also gave the silver dragon blood essence to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow arranged everyone's cultivation before entering the 73rd floor of the Pagoda of Time and Space to begin cultivating. The silver dragon was a venerable level demon beast. When its blood essence left its body, it would become a blood crystal. Knight Sorrow held the silver dragon blood crystal and began cultivating by absorbing the energy within it. At the same time, he was constantly trying to break through the 6th bloodline energy point. Within the command tent, Xialanjun looked at Yi Wuyo. After thinking for a moment, she said, Knight Sorrow's cultivation base is rising too quickly. You need to persuade him not to ruin his foundation. It shouldn't be a problem. The Pagoda of Time and Space is a sage treasure. It has the ability to accelerate time. Our time in the real world might be different from the time he cultivates, Yi Wuyo said. So that's how it is. It seems I've been worrying for nothing. Xialanjun nodded after hearing Yi Wuyo's words. Yi Shang had been working hard on his cultivation. As time passed, his cultivation level increased rapidly. After a month, Night Sorrow's true energy cultivation base was on the verge of a breakthrough. However, he didn't break through. He was suppressing it. It was the same for his myriad Dao's treasured cannon. On this day, Lei Hua came to Wu Lingfei's tent and told her that he had finished cultivating in the Sacred Hall's headquarters. Wu Lingfei nodded. She was waiting for Night Sorrow to come out of seclusion. If Night Sorrow brought it up, this matter could be put on the table. Since his true energy cultivation base and myriad Dao's treasured cannon cultivation base couldn't increase, Night Sorrow stabilized his cultivation base. At the same time, he worked hard to break through the bloodline energy points. After a few days of hard work, gray streaks of energy appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Spatial law power. Night Sorrow knew that it was spatial law power. This situation made him very happy. He had the power of law, so he could comprehend it at any time in the future. The sixth spatial energy point was very big and could store a lot of spatial energy. This made Yi Shang even happier than leveling up or advancing. This meant that there was a lot of room for improvement. After sensing his body, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion. He also wanted to see the situation of the formation. He didn't want his opponent to have any trump cards that he didn't know. After coming out of the formation, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. It had been a long time since he had seen the saints, so he should pay his respects. There were many people in the command tent. Seeing Night Sorrow come in, they were all shocked because Night Sorrow's body was filled with spatial law power. Shang, you've unlocked your sixth bloodline energy point? Xuanhuan looked at Night Sorrow excitedly. Yes, I just unlocked it. Now I have to continue cultivating. Night Sorrow walked to the empty main seat and sat down. Just do it steadily. Xuanhuan was still very excited. As for the ancient netherworld tree, I think it's afraid of fire. Let's see if we can find a strange flame. Night Sorrow looked at the group of people and asked. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Also, Commander, the sacred hall you arranged has been completed. You can make the next arrangements, said Wu Lingfei. What sacred hall? Jun Xuanji asked. Didn't we talk about finding a place to cultivate for the talented children of the two realms who have no one to take care of them? I arranged for Auntie Fei to take care of this matter. It's already been arranged. I hope that this cultivator's palace will produce more saints, so it's called the Holy Hall, said Yi Shang. Commander, you really put a lot of effort into this matter. Shen Wenxiu and the others cupped their hands at Night Sorrow. They didn't care where the sacred hall was. As long as it could give the children of the profound mysteries realm a chance, they would be happy. At this moment, many people looked at Wu Lingfei enviously. Because the sacred hall was in the Eastern Shen region, it would definitely be good for the future development of the Eastern Shen region. Very good. Commander, you must have a plan for the sacred hall's development and implementation, said Long Xianxing. He was very happy that this matter had been put on the agenda so quickly. You can read Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 891. Then I'll tell you what I think. The Sacred Hall is mainly divided into three parts. The first part is the Elite Hall, which is where the gifted children will be taught and provided with uniform resources. The second part is the Ordinary Hall, which will be taught according to the general teaching methods of the sects. The third part is the Rescue Hall, which is where we will raise these children and teach them according to their aptitude. What kind of talent they have will be placed there in the future. Night Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Very good. This is equivalent to giving them a chance. No matter how talented they are, they will be able to live well. Xian Wenxiu said. Setting up the Holy Hall in the Eastern Shen region might be a little selfish on my part. After all, I grew up in the Eastern Shen region and I have special feelings for it. Night Sorrow said. That's not a big deal. There are many teleportation channels now. It's more convenient no matter where it is. Shang Luo said. Then let's do it. Yun Tianlong said. I will provide the resources. You can send the children who are affected by the war. Night Sorrow said. We won't cheat you. This matter will be arranged by the commander's residence. As for the people who will teach the children, we will slowly look into it. Heavenly Underworld Saint said. The other thing is to find the ultimate fire. I don't believe that the ancient netherworld tree is not afraid of fire. Let me know if there's any news. I still have to go into seclusion to make a breakthrough. I'll have to trouble you all. I'm very sorry. Night Sorrow said apologetically. After that, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and sorted out the resources. He kept a portion of the high-grade spirit stones and took out the rest. There were also pills. Aside from the pills above the 5th rank, he also sorted them out. At this time, Wu Lingfei and Long Xianxing came to Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow, Aunt Fei is ashamed. It's clearly our idea, but you have to take the blame. Wu Lingfei said, a little embarrassed. And Fei, what are you saying? I'm just speaking from my heart. I'm from the Eastern Xian region and I have feelings for it. So I'll be selfish this time. Night Sorrow said with a smile. This is my and the Domain Lord's idea. It's indeed not very suitable for you to take the lead. However, it doesn't matter. We are the three saints of the Eastern Profound Domain. It doesn't matter who takes the lead. Long Xianxing said. Night Sorrow then handed the resources he had sorted out to Wu Lingfei. Auntie Fei, these are some low-level resources. Use them for the construction of the Saint Hall. Wu Lingfei nodded and accepted the gift. Ultimate fire is not easy to find, Long Xianxing said. I need time, Night Sorrow said after some thought. I don't quite understand what you mean. Long Xianxing was stunned for a moment before he said. Night Sorrow then said that there was a huge lava lake in the Void Fiend space. The fire energy was very violent, but he couldn't control the Void Fiend space right now, so he couldn't bring the lava lake here. Time is also a matter of time. We can wait. As long as there's a way to break it, it's enough. That's the opportunity to change the situation. Long Xianxing nodded and said. The problem of the ancient netherworld tree made everyone depressed. If this problem wasn't solved, the battle wouldn't be easy. Moreover, the battle of resources and harassment wouldn't be easy to carry out. If they couldn't find out the situation of the other party, they would have to bear a huge risk. Then Long Xianxing and Wu Lingfei left. Night Sorrow entered the space-time treasure pagoda and began to cultivate. He had many cultivation problems to solve now. His Zhenqi and Myriad Daosh treasured tome needed to level up, his soul power and bloodline talent needed to improve, and he also needed to comprehend the spatial laws. After sorting out his thoughts, Night Sorrow planned to level up his cultivation first. Then he would strengthen his soul power and bloodline talent while he stabilized his cultivation base. At the same time he would comprehend the spatial laws. Night Sorrow took 6 days to level up his Zhenqi and Myriad Daosh treasured tome. Then he began to stabilize his cultivation base and bloodline talent. At the same time he would comprehend the spatial laws. While Night Sorrow was working hard on his cultivation, the 9 regions world and profound mysteries realm were operating the Sage Halls. In terms of resources, Night Sorrow took out a portion of it. It was definitely enough. As for the children to be nurtured, they mainly came from the profound mysteries realm and western nether region. As for the task of teaching the children, the 9 regions world sent out people. The cultivation of the teachers who taught Hauzi in the early stages didn't need to be too high. After all, the children had never cultivated before. The difference between a sage and a severed soul stage cultivator wasn't that big. As for the 2 overseers, they were waiting for Night Sorrow's decision. One was Long Xianxing and the other was xuanhuan. Long Xianxing didn't belong to any sect, so it was suitable for him to oversee the Sage Halls. As for xuanhuan, he wanted to see the children of the profound mysteries realm grow up smoothly, so he took the initiative to ask for something to do in the Sage Halls. The candidate for the Hall Master is Night Sorrow. Senior Long and Senior xuanhuan can oversee the Sage Halls. Now we need to arrange for people to work, Xialanjun said with a smile. This problem should be discussed after Night Sorrow comes out. We can't leave the Hall Master aside. This matter is settled, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. The operations of the Sage Halls were carried out in an orderly manner. The higher-ups of the 2 worlds did their best to deal with this matter, but the Hall Master didn't appear. After cultivating for 3 months, Night Sorrow came out. After Night Sorrow came out, he was brought to the command tent by Xialanjun. Everyone talked about the construction of the Sage Halls. The children of the Profound Mysteries realm have been sent to the Profound Mysteries Royal City. They can be sent directly to the Sage Halls headquarters later, Jun Xuanji said. I've also taken a look at the Sage Halls headquarters. There's no problem in nurturing 2,000 to 3,000 people in the early stages. The Dongxian City Lord's mansion will be responsible for the daily expenses, Wu Lingfei said. Then, everyone talked about the matter of the Vice Hall Master and asked Night Sorrow for his opinion. Martial Uncle Great Uncle, I'll let Sword Sovereign Northski spend more effort on the Northern Sea domain. Martial Uncle Great Uncle will take the Vice Hall Master position. Elder Jun, you understand the situation of the Profound Mysteries realm. You can take the Vice Hall Master position. Also, City Lord Lu will be in charge of the resources. What do you all think? Night Sorrow glanced at everyone in the command tent and made a series of decisions. Hearing Night Sorrow's arrangements, no one had any objections because they were very suitable. With your arrangements, there's nothing for you to do, Tai Shu Yen shook his head helplessly. Capable people should do more work. Also, all the members of the commander's mansion should visit the sage halls when you're free. Whether it's in terms of cultivation or morals, you have to pay attention to those children. They might be the future of our two worlds, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Also, it's more stable here. Elder June, please arrange for me to go to the Profound Mysteries realm to burn incense and pay respects to those who died in the war and apologize to those who are still alive, Night Sorrow said. Commander, there's no need for that. It will damage your reputation. Xianxia and Xiangluo stood up. Many people died in the war between our two worlds. It's impossible to say that there's no hatred in my heart. I'll resolve as much as I can. Reputation is not important. Heaven is watching what we do. Night Sorrow waved his hand and insisted on his decision. You can read Myriad Tao Ascension for free. Chapter 892. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone fell silent. What was this? This was magnanimity and breadth of mind as well as courage. It was also a kind of comprehension that ordinary people couldn't have. A basket of books? Commander, why don't you reconsider? Prestige and prestige don't come easily. It's easy to lose a person's luck. Xuanhuan said. That's right. It's all because of the war. It has nothing to do with a person. Tai Shuyan also tried to persuade Night Sorrow. I know everyone is doing this for my own good. My prestige comes from the war. If I can avoid the war, then I'd rather not have this prestige and prestige. Elder June, arrange for it to be in Profound Secret's Imperial City. The more the better. Inform me when you're done. Night Sorrow finished speaking and left the command tent. He's stubborn. Once he's decided, it's impossible to persuade him. Wu Lingfei sighed. Everyone don't stop this. He said that the heavens are watching. This goes straight to the heart. Some things can't be judged from the surface. Long Xianxing said. Night Sorrow returned to his tent and brewed a pot of tea. At this time Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing entered the tent. Son, mother and father will accompany you. Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow and said. She was worried that Night Sorrow was under pressure. Okay. Thank you, mother and father. It's nothing. Everyone has to face some things. What you do, you have to bear the consequences. Night Sorrow said. This is a man's responsibility. Yi Wuyo nodded. After staying for a while and seeing that Night Sorrow was fine, Yi Wuyo and his wife left. Then, Night Sorrow returned to the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began to cultivate and comprehend the laws of space. Everything in the 9-domain world was proceeding in an orderly manner. Night Sorrow was also cultivating peacefully. Night Sorrow cultivated for nearly a month. After 10 days in the real world he was awakened by Shao Kong. Someone outside the Spacetime Pagoda was calling for Night Sorrow. Coming out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, Night Sorrow saw Xuanhuan and another man. Xuanhuan introduced the man to Night Sorrow. This man was the mysterious Heaven Sword sect master Yu Feng. In addition, Night Sorrow had finished his business in the Profound Mysteries realm. In that case, I'll patrol this place first. We'll head over tomorrow. Night Sorrow nodded at Yu Feng and told him the time to go to the Profound Mysteries realm. Sect Master Yu, please go back and make the necessary arrangements, Xuanhuan instructed Yu Feng. After bowing to Night Sorrow, Yu Feng left. He knew that this was a serious matter. Something went wrong, it would be serious. Xianxia and Xiangluo could strangle him to death. A few days ago, they had repeatedly reminded him to take care of this matter. Night Sorrow entered the array formation and inspected it. He found that the ancient netherworld tree was very ferocious. It had completely surrounded the array formation area, but it still couldn't invade the grand array. This situation made Night Sorrow feel very relieved as long as the array formation was stable. After patrolling, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Long Xianxing said, "We'll go with you tomorrow." Night Sorrow said, "We need someone to guard this place. I'll stay here. You guys go." Yun Tianlong expressed his willingness to stay and guard the array formation. Night Sorrow thought about it and agreed. In addition, he had Xueshi stay behind to help Yun Tianlong guard this place. He also told everyone to gather at the entrance of the spatial channel. If there was a problem with the array formation, they were to attack the ancient tree outside the spatial channel. The 1000 derivation killing formation would activate, and Xueshi would be able to contact Night Sorrow immediately. Night Sorrow spent the night in the Spacetime Pagoda with his 3 fiancées. The next day, Night Sorrow and the higher-ups of the 2 realms left the spatial channel through the transmission array. When they left the Medicine Valley spatial channel, everyone was stunned. A golden light had appeared in the sky and landed on Night Sorrow's body. Light of Virtue Max 5 at this time, there was a clear halo of light behind Night Sorrow's head. Night Sorrow, your virtue has already reached a point where it's visible. It's very rare, said Long Xianxing. There's also this golden light around my spirit sea, but it doesn't have any effect, said Night Sorrow. The effect is very strong. It can be said that in the 9 regions world, anyone who tries to harm you will be punished by the heavens, said Yi Wuyo. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that he had done a lot of good deeds for the 9 regions world, but he didn't really care about that. Following this, they continuously teleported until they reached the entrance of the Profound Mysteries realm. Wait a moment. At that moment, Yi Xinyu walked over to Yi Shan and took out a set of King's battle armor. She helped Yi Shan put it on. Don't feel too much pressure. Night Moon Dynasty will always stand behind you. Thank you, Great Aunt. Yi Shan nodded. At this moment, his heart felt warm. Following this, they teleported to the Profound Mysteries Imperial City. At this time, the Profound Mysteries Imperial City was filled with people. From the City Lord's mansion to the plaza in front of the City Lord's mansion, both sides of the street were filled with people. There was also a special group of children who were going to be sent to the Sacred Hall. Under Jun Xuanji's lead, Yi Shang walked towards the square. There was an inscription there, the war inscription, commemorating those who had died in the war. Jun Xuanji took out some incense and handed it to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took the incense and lit it. Then he bowed to the tablet and inserted it into the cauldron. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow took off his king battle armor in front of everyone's eyes. Why is that? Night Xinhua asked in confusion. It's my fault. It has nothing to do with Night Moon, said Night Sorrow as he walked onto the stage. At this time, Xian Wenxiu and Jun Xuanji also followed Night Sorrow onto the stage. Walking onto the stage, Night Sorrow looked at the countless people from the Profound Mysteries realm. The war from before brought great harm to the Profound Mysteries realm. Many people lost their families and homes. I, Night Sorrow, am here to pay my respects to everyone. After saying this, Night Sorrow bowed. Perhaps some people might say that this was war and that I was innocent. However, I was the one who commanded the war and gave the orders, so I am guilty. I, Night Sorrow, will bear all of this. I will also do my best to erase the pain brought by this war. I hope that this will be the last time the Profound Mysteries realm and the 9 regions world will suffer. In the future, there will be no more conflicts between the 2 realms. This generation is destined to suffer. What I hope is to build a foundation of happiness and peace for the future generations, said Night Sorrow as he bowed again. At this moment, a white-haired old woman walked out with a walking stick. Some guards tried to stop her, but Night Sorrow waved his hand and forced the guards to retreat. I lost 2 sons in this war, but I also understand that as the commander of the 9 regions world, winning the war for the 9 regions world is your responsibility. I don't blame you. I just want to ask, is the Profound Mysteries realm the same as the 9 regions world in your eyes? If the Profound Mysteries realm makes things difficult for you, will the 9 regions world be willing to help? The white-haired old woman asked Night Sorrow. Yishan walked down from the high platform and bowed to the old woman. Elder, I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you. As for your questions, I'll answer them now. Download Myriad Daos Become Gods. Chapter 893. In my eyes, both the Profound Mysteries realm and the 9 regions world are important. If anything happens to the Profound Mysteries realm, I'll definitely stand up. I definitely will. Old lady, don't worry. I'm a man, and I have the responsibility of a man. Won't you? Night Sorrow said. This old lady believes that as the commander of 2 realms, for you to stand up and burn incense for those who died in battle and apologize to those who are still alive, this is your responsibility. The white-haired old lady bowed to Night Sorrow. Senior, there's no need for this. Night Sorrow helped the old lady up and arranged for her to sit down on the side. Night Sorrow then returned to the high platform. This matter wasn't over yet. Commander, Xian Wenxiu has something to say. Xian Wenxiu looked at Night Sorrow and said, Senior Xian, please. Night Sorrow took 2 steps back. Xian Wenxiu took 2 steps forward and bowed to everyone. The war was started by the Profound Mysteries realm. If there's any fault, it's the fault of the leaders of the Profound Mysteries realm. It has nothing to do with Commander Night Sorrow. The other 9 regions world, under the commander's suggestion, are now fully funding the reconstruction of the Profound Mysteries realm. Everyone has seen the current situation, so there's no need for hatred. Xian Wenxiu was a person of virtue and prestige in the Profound Mysteries realm. Many people understood why he bowed. In addition, the commander has also decided to establish a holy hall, a hall for cultivators. The children who lost their loved ones in the war can all cultivate in the holy hall. The early resources will be provided by the commander. This is equivalent to giving our children a chance in the future. As for hatred, this lord has also felt it because the Jun family was almost wiped out. However, the commander said that we live in an era of pain. It's enough if our children can be happy in the future, Jun Xuanji said. Everyone don't worry. I will treat them as my brothers and sisters, as my own children. I will do my best to support them so that they can have a bright future. Please accept Night Sorrow's apology. Night Sorrow bowed again. As Night Sorrow bowed, everyone in the Profound Mysteries realm bowed in response to Night Sorrow. Everyone had their own thoughts and understood what war was all about. Night Sorrow was willing to stand up and bear the consequences even though he wasn't in the wrong. This earned everyone's respect, because if he wasn't in the wrong, there would be no forgiveness, only respect. The people of the Profound Mysteries realm were also very grateful. If it weren't for the support of the 9 Domains world, who knew how long it would have taken for them to recover? Just as everyone bowed, another golden light appeared in the sky and landed on Night Sorrow's body. That was the power of virtue of the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow once again talked about the complementary development policy of the 2 worlds and ended the meeting. Jun Xuanji invited Night Sorrow to the City Lord's mansion, but Night Sorrow didn't have the nerve to accept. After all, he had dealt a heavy blow to the Jun family. How could he have the nerve to sit there? So he directly took a teleportation array and left. The higher-ups of the 9 Domains world also followed Night Sorrow out of the Profound Mysteries realm. This matter is very satisfactory. Martial Ant, I'll have to trouble you with the construction of the Sacred Hall, Night Sorrow said to Tai Shu Yen. No problem. Also, Martial Ant doesn't understand. Why didn't you arrange something for your Aunt Fei to do? Tai Shu Yen glanced at Wu Lingfei. My Aunt Fei likes peace and quiet. She probably isn't good at these things, so I didn't make things difficult for her, Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's still Night Sorrow who understands me. Junior Martial Sister Tai Shu, don't hold me back. This isn't something I like or am good at. I don't really care about the Eastern Shen region's matters, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Everyone smiled. They all understood Wu Lingfei's personality. She was a bit cold and didn't interact much with others. It was only when she was with Night Sorrow that she spoke casually. Normally she didn't have much to say. After returning to the Netherworld Realm's spatial channel, Night Sorrow patrolled the array formation area. After talking to everyone, he put Tianyu, Yimei, and Sikong Chuyu into the Spacetime Pagoda. Just as Night Sorrow was about to enter the Spacetime Pagoda, Xueshi came and also wanted to enter. Haha, I originally wanted to let you get some fresh air outside. You don't need it, Night Sorrow said with a smile. I also want to cultivate. I want to break through to the 7-star Saint Realm, so it's better to work hard, said Xueshi. Night Sorrow nodded and brought Xueshi to the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. After ordering a pot of tea from Xueshi, Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body. Night Sorrow then went to the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. Time slowly passed, and Night Sorrow's cultivation became more and more stable. His bloodline talent was also rapidly increasing. In addition, he also slowly gained a basic understanding of the laws of space. Every once in a while, Night Sorrow would come out of the Spacetime Pagoda to patrol the array formation. Then he would continue cultivating. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda for 3 years. During these 3 years, Night Sorrow's cultivation had risen to the 3-star Saint Realm. His myriad Dao treasured canon cultivation had also reached the 3-star Golden Body Realm. His soul power and bloodline talent had also increased greatly. Most importantly, he had already grasped the laws of space. Compared to a year ago, Night Sorrow's strength was like the difference between heaven and earth. After grasping the laws of space, Night Sorrow's speed had reached a terrifying level. As for the situation of the war, it was still in a stalemate. The other side was unable to break through the array, and the 9 Regions World's camp was also unable to break through the ancient Netherworld tree's entanglement. Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. That was because the Void Fiendish Space and the Void Fate Pearl were still fusing. When he could control the Void Fiendish Space, then he would be able to control everything within the Void Fiendish Space. Destroying the ancient Netherworld tree wouldn't be a problem. Every time he came out of the Spacetime Pagoda, Night Sorrow would go to the Sacred Hall. That was because the current situation of the children there was caused by the war. He hoped that the children would be able to have a good life and walk out of the pain. Once again he went to the Sacred Hall. Tai Shu Yen brought Night Sorrow to the martial arts practice field where everyone was cultivating. Seeing Night Sorrow's arrival, all the cultivator children stood up straight and called out to the hall master. Night Sorrow came in front of a girl and squatted down to straighten the girl's slightly wrinkled skirt. Are you tired from cultivating? replying to the hall master, "I'm tired, but July can persevere." The little girl looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Then why did you choose to cultivate the spear?" Night Sorrow asked. "Because the hall master cultivates the spear," the girl called July said. "Very good. I'll come every once in a while. If you have any cultivation problems, you can come and find me." Night Sorrow said to July, "Commander, many children are cultivating the spear now. As for the understanding of the Tao of the spear, no one is better than you. Tell the children about your understanding of the Tao of the spear," Taishu said. Night Sorrow nodded and took out his reincarnation spear. "Actually, no matter what weapon you use, the weapon is an extension of the body. You have to respect the weapon and give it emotions. Also, tell me about some of my thoughts. Sword arts can take the path of agility, but spear arts can't. Cultivating the spear arts can't lack speed, strength, and flexibility. You have to develop it in all aspects." Night Sorrow talked about his feelings about cultivating the spear arts. Click, Myriad Tao becomes a god, to read for free. Chapter 894. A boy stood up and asked, "Didn't you say that we need to focus on one area and cultivate our strengths?" Blue, how much water a barrel can hold isn't decided by the highest plank, but by the lowest plank. Without speed, you won't be able to hit anyone even if you have strength. If you have speed but no strength, your attack power will be low. Night Sorrow said to the boy, "Thank you for your guidance, Hall Master." All the children bowed. City Lord Taishu, tell the children who practice the spear to pay attention to the cultivation of their bodies. Without a good body, they won't be able to cultivate domineering spear arts. Night Sorrow said to Taishu Yen. Taishu Yen nodded. As a half-step saint, how could she not understand the logic of Night Sorrow's words? Also, Senior Lei Hua, make some arrangements. The children need warmth. The people of Eastern Profound Region's Eastern Profound City must take care of these children. When they are not cultivating, they can be brought home to feel love and care. Let them have a happy childhood. Night Sorrow said to Lei Hua, who had been standing at the side without speaking. This subordinate will definitely do it well. Lei Hua nodded. Afterward, Night Sorrow stood in front of the group of children and taught them how to cultivate the spear. He talked about the basic spear techniques and the essence. Night Sorrow only left the sacred hall in the evening. Did everyone see that? This is the commander of our two realms, a 3-star saint. He truly cares for everyone. Everyone should be grateful. Although there was a war between the two realms, it wasn't anyone's fault. Your generation may have suffered, but the future generations of the two realms will be happy. Taishu Yen said. Vice Hall Master, the teachers have analyzed the war with us. We all understand that we only have respect for the Hall Master. July said. After Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passage, he took out a pen and paper and wrote down his experiences on the cultivation of the spear. He found that there were no books on the basics of the spear. Night Sorrow wrote down in detail. It was all about his understanding of the cultivation process. Xuanhuan went to Night Sorrow's tent. Originally, he wanted to ask if the Holy Hall would accept children who had families. But when he saw that Night Sorrow was concentrating on writing, he decided to wait at the side. Only when the sky turned dark did Night Sorrow finish writing. He saw Xuanhuan standing to the side. Xuanhuan had also become a saint, but not for long. Why didn't you shout when you were here? I didn't even notice, Night Sorrow said. Your vigilance is too poor. Xuanhuan was a little puzzled. She had been here for nearly 2 hours, but Night Sorrow, a 3-star saint, had not noticed her. Do I need to be vigilant? There are so many people here who can directly threaten my safety. Night Sorrow said with a smile. In truth, Xuanhuan and Night Sorrow were just joking. If they had any hostility toward Night Sorrow would have sensed it long ago. You're writing about the spear. What are you doing? Xuanhuan asked as he looked at Night Sorrow's writing. Many children in the Holy Hall cultivate spear arts. I didn't find any introductions to the basics of spear arts, so I wrote down my own cultivation experience, hoping that it would help those children. Night Sorrow handed the book he had written to Xuanhuan. This is very precious. There are almost no spear masters. If you say you're second in understanding the spear, no one would dare say they're first. At this moment, she was completely certain that Yi Shang treated the children of the two worlds the same. He didn't look at them differently. It's just some random writing, Night Sorrow said. By the way, there's something else I need to do. The children that the Holy Hall is accepting are all children who lost their families in the war. Some of the children who have families want to join the Holy Hall. What do you think? Xuanhuan asked. If we don't accept them, we're not establishing a sect or forming a faction. I just want those children who were hurt to live better lives. Others shouldn't join in the fun, Night Sorrow said. But isn't that not too good? Xuanhuan said after thinking about it. If you don't accept them, just say it's my idea. Go talk to the other two grand elders and see what they think, Night Sorrow said to Xuanhuan. After Xuanhuan left, Night Sorrow went to the God-slaying squad's camp. The members of the God-slaying squad were all very enthusiastic about cultivation. After all, Night Sorrow had already become a 3-star saint. How could they not be anxious? Night Sorrow was very happy to drink with everyone under the night sky. He felt that drinking with his brothers was the most realistic feeling. They drank until dawn. Only then did Night Sorrow return to the camp at the entrance of the spatial channel. Following this, he went to patrol the large array. Just as Night Sorrow returned to his tent and was about to enter the spacetime pagoda to cultivate, Long Xianxing, Xianwenxiu, Taishu Yen, Xuanhuan, and Lu Qin arrived. They were the people in charge of the Holy Hall. Commander, we're here to talk about whether or not the Holy Hall is still accepting people. We feel that it's good to accept some people. In the future we can set up a patrol team to maintain the peace between the two realms, Long Xianxing said. Resources are limited. If the number of people increases, we'll take away some cultivation resources from those children, which goes against my original intentions. Those children can go to various factions and have many paths. The reason why I set up the Holy Hall is not for anything else but to compensate those children who have been hurt so that they can have a better life. If those children with family members join the Holy Hall, there will be competition and a sense of superiority. It's not good for those children. Night Sorrow stated the reason why he was against it. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone fell into deep thought. That makes sense. We didn't think about it thoroughly enough, Xianwenxiu said. At this moment he understood how important Night Sorrow was to the children without family members in the Holy Hall. He wanted to eliminate even the slightest disadvantage. Let's do this for the time being. After a few years, when these children are more mature and won't be disturbed by the outside world, we'll consider accepting a group of members, Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Long Xianxing, Xianwenxiu, Taishu Yen, and the others cupped their hands and left Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow also entered the spacetime pagoda and began to cultivate. This is Night Sorrow. He has a soft side in his heart. He doesn't want the children of the Holy Hall to be hurt even a little bit. Let's do as he says. Also, tell the teachers in the Holy Hall to be more compassionate. If anyone does something wrong, Night Sorrow will be angry and bear the consequences, Long Xianxing said to the others after returning to the command tent. In addition, Night Sorrow's words today must let the children know that they need to grow up with compassion in their hearts. This is good for their body and mind, Xianwenxiu added. Xuanji will do it well. As a woman, I'm not as thorough as him in this aspect. I'm really ashamed, Xuanhuan said with a sigh. Download Myriad Dao Ascension, for free. Chapter 895. At this time, everyone had a better understanding of Night Sorrow and Night Sorrow's inner world. This is the heart of a benevolent person. It's a blessing for both realms to have such a commander. Xianwenxiu was a little emotional. He even felt that this war wasn't a bad thing for the Profound Mysteries realm. Even though they were currently under attack, it would be extremely beneficial for their future development. This was because they had a commander like Yishang. As for how long this situation could last, Xianwenxiu wasn't worried. Venerables had 800 years of lifespan, while saints had 3,000. Night Sorrow was now in his 20s. Even if Night Sorrow didn't improve, he would still have 3,000 years of lifespan. He could maintain the stability of the two realms for 3,000 years. At that time the two realms would become one. Furthermore, Night Sorrow was only in his 20s. No one knew what his future achievements would be like. At this time Wu Lingfei also came to the tent. With so many people gathered, she thought something had happened. His plagiarized version X. Senior Sister Wu, you've come at the right time. There's something we need your help with. Taishu Yen had said that Night Sorrow had asked the people of Dongxin City to bring the children of the Sacred Hall back to their homes to feel the warmth. For this matter you can look for Lei Hua and the others. I'm not from the Sacred Hall, said Wu Lingfei. No, if Senior Sister Wu doesn't personally arrange it, I'll talk to the commander later and have him find something for Senior Sister Wu to do. The Sacred Hall has already been arranged in the eastern Xian region. If we look for Senior Sister Wu to do something and Senior Sister is like this, do you agree? Taishu Yen glanced at Long Xianxing and Xianwenxiu. Alright, I'll go arrange it. I'm really afraid of you, said Wu Lingfei. She really didn't want Taishu Yen to ask Night Sorrow to arrange something for her. She didn't like it and she wasn't used to it. Night Sorrow was cultivating on the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. He didn't lack resources. What he needed was time. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation base steadily increased. After spending half a year in seclusion, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion and patrolled the array formation once more. At this time, the ancient netherworld tree was growing at a crazy rate, and it had already surrounded the array formation so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. In addition, only 2 teleportation arrays that Night Sorrow had set up remained. The rest had been destroyed. After exiting the formation, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. "Commander, you disappeared for half a year. Why didn't you go to the Saint Hall? Those children all want to see you." Taishu Yen looked at Night Sorrow and said. She was very shocked because she found that Night Sorrow's cultivation was close to the late stage of the 3-star Saint realm. What shocked her the most was that she felt a great pressure from Night Sorrow's body. It was an extremely domineering young power. "Alright, let's make a trip there," Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow also planned to take a look at the Saint Hall. He also had other things to do. After rapidly increasing his cultivation base by a few levels, Night Sorrow's true chi attribute wasn't in a saturated state. His void attribute power couldn't keep up. He wanted to take a look at the void fiend space. If necessary, he would dig up the void crystal. When Night Sorrow arrived, the children of the Saint Hall were practicing spear techniques in the martial arts field. Almost all of them were practicing spear techniques. Seeing July, whose cultivation base was already at the peak stage of element gathering realm, trying hard to wave her spear, Night Sorrow walked over. Seeing Night Sorrow, July's eyes lit up. However, as Night Sorrow approached, she kept retreating. This situation made Night Sorrow stop and look at Xuanhuan, who was walking over. "Why are they afraid of me?" At this time, July wasn't the only one retreating. The other children were also retreating. "It's not that they are afraid of you. It's just that the pressure on your body is too strong. Even I feel a little uncomfortable, let alone them," Xuanhuan said. Xuanhuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. She didn't understand why Night Sorrow's aura was so strong that people couldn't look straight at him. Night Sorrow shook his head and used the power of law to suppress the flow of his blood and chi. He was now at the late stage of 3-star golden body realm. His body was indestructible, and the flow of his blood and chi had great power. So, no matter who faced him, they would feel pressure. Uncle didn't notice. "It's fine now." Night Sorrow waved at the children of the Saint Hall. "Greetings, Lord Commander." All the children bowed. Back then, Taishiyin and Xuanhuan had told the children that Yishang had refused to let the other children join the Holy Hall so that they wouldn't be affected. This had caused the children to have different feelings towards Yishang. "Don't be like this. You can call me Uncle. I'm ranked 13th in the sect. You can call me 13th Uncle." Night Sorrow waved at July and the children. "You can really call me Uncle." July's voice was trembling because she no longer had any relatives. "Really? I'll be your uncle from now on." Night Sorrow walked over and held July's hand. 13th Uncle," July called out softly. Holding July's hand, Night Sorrow looked at all the children and said, "You don't have any relatives. I, Night Sorrow, am your relative. From today onwards, as long as you don't lose out, as long as you don't lose out, as long as you feel wronged or bullied, you can come to me. I will seek justice for you regardless of the price." "Thank you, 13th Uncle." All the children nodded. "Alright, there's no need to say thank you to your relatives." Night Sorrow waved his hand. Then, Night Sorrow led everyone to practice their spear techniques. Night Sorrow seemed to have returned to his youth, just like when he was cultivating in the Medicine Valley. Every spear strike was extremely serious. "I'm also convinced. How is this something a commander would do? He's completely a protective parent," Taishu Yen said. "Such a domineering parent. If this were to be thrown out, who would dare to provoke the children of the Sacred Hall?" Xuanhuan said with a smile. Night Sorrow cultivated with everyone until evening. After eating with the children, they continued chatting under the night sky. These children were very interested in Night Sorrow's matters. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything and told them about his past. They chatted until late at night. A teacher called the children to go rest. "You're spoiling them too much," Xuanhuan said as he looked at Night Sorrow. "Children need to be spoiled. You should do the same. There's nothing wrong with that." Night Sorrow insisted. "Alright, you win," Xuanhuan said somewhat helplessly. She now understood Night Sorrow. She also knew that in the future she could provoke any family's children except for those with the surname Night. This was because parents weren't easy to communicate with. To put it bluntly, when it came to children, Night Sorrow's attitude was even somewhat extreme. After resting until dawn, Knight Sorrow said goodbye to the children of the Sacred Hall and left the Sacred Hall. He still had things to do, such as going to the Void Fiend space to take a look. Knight Sorrow wanted to leave, and these children were somewhat reluctant to part with him. After losing their loved ones, these children were in pain. Now that there was a 13th uncle who truly cared for them, they once again had a figure that could support the sky in their hearts. Click on Myriad Tao Ascension to read it for free. Chapter 896. Waving goodbye to the child, Knight Sorrow left the Sacred Hall. Cradle Book Cradle. He hurried to the Medicine Valley and arrived at the location of the Void Fiendish space. He tore open the spatial barrier and entered the Void Fiendish space. Knight Sorrow could clearly feel the changes in the void space. He could even change the structure of the energy in the space with his thoughts. Standing on the ground of the void space, Knight Sorrow could feel that the Void Fate Pearl was the void space and had already enveloped the void space. In other words, Knight Sorrow had passed through the Void Fate Pearl and entered the void space. When the void space shrank to the same size as the Void Fate Pearl, Knight Sorrow would completely refine the void space. Yishang flew to the lone peak that towered into the clouds. At this time he could feel the dense void attribute energy. He had never felt it so clearly before. This was the effect of refining the void fiendish space. Sitting on the peak of the broken mountain, Knight Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. Since he could feel the void energy, there was no need for him to dig up the crystals. He could just meditate and absorb the void energy to cultivate. After sitting down cross-legged, Knight Sorrow communicated with his soul power. Under the guidance of Knight Sorrow's soul power, the void energy in the mountain below him pervaded and surrounded him. Knight Sorrow did not need to absorb the void energy. He could directly refine it. He was now the master of the void space, so it was not difficult for him to do this. While absorbing the void energy to cultivate, he also took the blood crystal of the four-clawed silver dragon to cultivate the myriad Tao tome. Once Knight Sorrow started cultivating, he lost track of time. He meditated for half a year, and only stood up when he had raised the void attribute to its fullest state. At this time his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 3-star Saint realm, and his physical cultivation had also reached the peak of the 3-star Golden Body realm. Knight Sorrow stood up, tidied his robe, and flew toward the lava lake. He wanted to see the situation of the lava lake. After arriving at the lava lake, Knight Sorrow discovered that the lava lake had shrunk slightly. Without the presence of a fire attribute origin stone, the lava lake had stopped growing. Knight Sorrow, I can hold some. You can bring them back to the spatial tunnel and test their effects. Shao Kong's voice rang out in Knight Sorrow's divine sea. It won't harm you, Knight Sorrow said. He was interested in Little Kong's thoughts, but he didn't want to harm the space-time pagoda. It's just consuming some energy. It's not a big problem. Just try it out with a bit less energy. If it's okay, you can just wait for the void domain to be refined. There's no need to think of other methods, Shao Kong said. Following that, Knight Sorrow opened the space-time pagoda and absorbed the lava into it, filling up the first level of the space-time pagoda. After that, Knight Sorrow quickly left. He had to get to the spatial tunnel as soon as possible. Because the space-time pagoda contained the lava, it consumed a lot of energy. After exiting the void domain, Knight Sorrow went to Taichuan and teleported to the entrance of the Nether realm. Knight Sorrow used the law of nothingness to protect himself as he rushed through the array. He used 2 slashes that already contained the law of space. Then he transferred the flames of the space-time pagoda to the ancient netherworld trees. After transferring the flames, Knight Sorrow retreated to the array to observe the situation. He heard creaking sounds. The roots of the ancient netherworld trees were being burned. Some of the ancient netherworld trees even moved to avoid the burning flames. The lava flames were very violent. Even with the energy of death surrounding them, the ancient netherworld trees couldn't withstand it. Good. Knight Sorrow growled. If the lava flames were effective, then after the void domain was completely integrated, this place could be resolved. In the tent of the Nether realm, the 8 Hell Kings held their heads and growled. What's wrong? 9 Hades came to the tent of the 8 Hell Kings. Damn it, I don't know where they got a bunch of flames. The ancient tree that's being damaged is the one this king merged with. The 8 Hell King's face was a little pale. Is the problem serious? 9 Hades asked. It's not serious. There aren't many flames. The ancient netherworld tree just needs to move away and use the energy of the nether to exhaust the flames. The problem is whether they can still get such flames. If there are a lot of them, it'll be troublesome. The 8 Hell Kings calmed down and said, it shouldn't be. But be careful, 8 Hell Kings. Don't let your true body get hurt. 9 Hades reminded the 8 Hell Kings. This king has already retreated a little. the 8 Hell Kings said. The 8 Hell King's true body had extended his lifespan by merging with the ancient netherworld tree, so his clone's lifespan wasn't affected. The one talking to 9 Hades now was his clone. Night Sorrow saw that it was effective and was very happy. He felt that he could go back and forth a few times. Even if he couldn't break the ancient netherworld tree, the nether realm would still be afraid. Yu Qing and Wu Lingfei walked over when they saw Night Sorrow coming out of the array with a smile. They were originally chatting, but seeing that Night Sorrow was in a good mood, they came over to ask. I went to deal with the ancient netherworld tree. The effect is pretty good. Night Sorrow explained the situation. That's not bad. Even if it can't break it directly, it'll still make them feel uncomfortable. Wu Lingfei said. Mother, Aunt Fei, you guys continue chatting. I'll go back and forth a few more times. In the future, the ancient netherworld tree won't dare to come close to the array. It'll still have a big impact on them. Night Sorrow went through the spatial tunnel and went to the void fiendish space to get more flames. Night Sorrow went back and forth to get the flames 3 times. The 8 Hell Kings could only control the ancient netherworld tree to retreat a distance because the flames were very harmful to the tree. After going back and forth 3 times, Night Sorrow stopped. In order to not get hurt, Little Sky needed too much energy from spiritual stones. It cost 5 top-grade spiritual stones each time. At present, he couldn't change the situation of the war, so Night Sorrow didn't waste his time. Night Sorrow didn't continue to move the flames, but the ancient netherworld tree, which had already retreated a distance, didn't dare to come close to the array. At the same time, the flames destroyed the effect of the ancient netherworld tree's growth seal, and some of its roots were burned away. The 9 King was very angry, but she couldn't do anything. The combination of the Great Cycle Array and the 1000 Development Illusionary Array was an extreme defense that she couldn't break. 9 King, how about this? Get some netherworld twin-tailed bees and throw them into the array. This way, even if the netherworld twin-tailed bees are trapped, their attack power will still be there. If it's not an extreme attack, it won't hurt the small netherworld twin-tailed bees, the 8 Hell Kings said. That works, but that's a double-edged sword. We can't control the netherworld twin-tailed bees. Throw them into the array and make it a forbidden zone for both sides. This method works. The 9 King nodded and then called the 7 Fiends King to deal with this matter. The netherworld twin-tailed bees were small, but they were poisonous. They weren't afraid of sword rays or earth energy attacks. If they wanted to capture them, they had to seal the nest and capture the nest together. After releasing the flames a few times, Night Sorrow went to cultivate. He wanted to raise his cultivation to the 4-star saint realm. That way his combat power would increase by a lot. There was a big difference between a mid-level saint and a beginner saint. Click Becoming God by 10,000 Dao to read it for free.